Part 154. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1534. A group of subordinates of Jia Yan's team all saw a behemoth in the outside world, almost half the size of the Aditya, standing so quietly and proudly in the void. This is. They were all shocked. The size of this creature is too big. Even these creatures are about 5 kilometers in size, but it is still completely incomparable with the behemoth that is 10 kilometers in size. If they could survive alone in the Edisha, it wouldn't be so easy with this creature. Of course, this is not their focus. The point is, the behemoth in front of them actually has a slender mouthpart and 6 incredibly long legs. It is very similar to the Lord Jia Yan in their impression. If you take a closer look, you will see that this behemoth has no resemblance at all. It is simply an enlarged version of Master Jia Yan that has been enlarged several times. You are this. At this moment, the group of subordinates felt a surge of blood, and almost no one was speechless. They didn't quite believe that this was Master Jia Yan. After all, Master Jia Yan, who had just improved his strength some time ago, actually improved his strength again and then grew to such a huge level. This is almost impossible. But the appearance of this creature is too similar to Master Jia Yan. They dare not recognize each other. Haha, what? I haven't seen you for a while. Have you forgotten me? The creature with the slender mouthparts spoke calmly while they were stunned. This is really Master Jia Yan? Oh my God. Sir, long time no see. Has your strength improved again? Sir, we didn't leave. We have been waiting for you for a long time. A group of subordinates no longer had any doubts after hearing Jia Yan's words. As for the way he suddenly became so huge and seemed to have greatly improved in strength, there is always a reason to explain it. After all, this is an evolved beast. From the information they knew, the evolved beast became more and more powerful and a bit mythical. Especially after knowing that Jia Yan was also an evolved beast, they secretly classified all the information about the evolved beast, whether it was true or not. After going through all the fake ones, I finally decided that this kind of heaven-defying creature is definitely not comparable to ordinary creatures. So even if they go further within a few months, it is still a bit beyond their imagination, but it is not unacceptable. That's right, it's me. See you guys. How are you doing? Jia Yan's faint words sounded in the hearing organs of several subordinates. Sir, these past few months, we have not been living very well. The heavenly cowherd was the first to step out of the crowd and answer Jia Yan. Oh? You seem to be injured. The creature that came was naturally Jia Yan. At this time, he just asked a few creatures about their past, and found that they seemed to be a little injured. 2 of them, in particular, seemed to be seriously injured. Sir, since you left, those emperors who were supposed to leave suddenly sent their subordinates to attack us after leaving for a while, and even asked us about your whereabouts. So they hurt you? Jia Yan asked. Yes, they don't seem to want to kill us, otherwise we would have died several times. Sir, it seems. What does it seem like? It seems to be trying to attract you to show up. The cowherd said what he thought. Attract me to appear. The giant mosquito flying next to the Edissa was slightly startled, and then his eyes turned slightly cold. He sneered. Since they want to see me, then I will let them see me. As soon as Jia Yan spoke, a group of creatures in the team were stunned, and then they all became anxious. Sir, although we have not seen those god emperors, the 3 of them must be waiting for you nearby. Even if you have improved your strength, you can face the 3 god emperors. Do you think I will lose? Jia Yan smiled. Then he said a few more words. After hearing these words, the members of Jia Yan's team were all stunned. Although they were full of disbelief, after hearing this, they remained silent and began their preparations. Since the Lord has said so, if we don't fight with him once, we would be very sorry for the Lord's trust in us. Yes, Your Excellency must be sure of what he said. After all, he is a person who can create miracles. But, how much do you think my master's strength has improved this time? I always feel that in addition to his larger size, he also seems to have a very different feeling in the yin and yang system. I think so too, and I don't know what he went through to be promoted again in such a short period of time. Jia Yan did not explain the doubts of his subordinates. Even if Jia Yan himself recalled the events in another world at this moment, it felt like a dream. Even he himself thinks so, so if he says it, others will definitely not believe it. So wouldn't it be better to simply keep it a bit mysterious and let others respect him more, and even if they believe it, so what? It's easy for others to know that he has been to the so-called other world, this big secret. Jia Yan didn't know if having visited other worlds was something worthy of others' attention, but that world was actually a place where powerful people far surpassed this world, which would definitely attract others to covet him. In this galaxy, there are countless beings who are trapped in their current strength and unable to progress. Those among them who have no hope of promotion and are about to die of old age will never care about the risk of going to another world. And Jia Yan was unwilling to share the secret with them. After an hour, large groups of creatures are just outside the subspace. Be careful. Those guys seem to be trying to escape in the past few days. Our job is to keep an eye on them. Don't worry, their space vehicle no longer has the ability to fly too fast. As long as we hang it from a distance, we won't be afraid of them escaping. The God Emperor actually sent us such a simple mission, and said we should be careful. The leader of this group of creatures appears, which is simply ridiculous. Then Jia Yan, even if he is strong, will he be as strong as several of our great god kings? Even if he is as scary as the rumors say, there are still several god emperors sitting not far behind us. Even if he dares to appear, he will definitely end up dead. It's also strange. When several adults returned to the outside world, they all said that guy was dead. Why did he suddenly return? It seems that there is some information from above. In short, we are subordinates and don't need to know so much. In the starry sky, a group of beings who have reached the star level, that is, the god-level beings in the great realm of gods, are constantly flying around in the starry sky. They all have certain instruments in their hands. And these instruments all have a directional indicator. If Jia Yan and his subordinates in the subspace could see the pointer of this instrument, then they would know why the Edisha in the subspace was locked by outside creatures. These instruments are actually instruments that lock in abnormal fluctuations in subspace. After all, problem solving is the ability of every intelligent creature. Not to mention that in the realm of gods, there are still many capable people. Although at first, they were a little unprepared for the Edisha that could sail in subspace. But they soon found a way to deal with it. Look for me carefully. Those guys seem to be nearby. This time we have to find a way to force them into a corner, so that the so-called Jia Yan behind them will appear. A group of divine creatures are familiar with the instruments in their hands, and can easily know the location of the Aditha. And just as they were preparing to bombard a subspace place, boom! Space vibrates. A group of creatures suddenly appeared in normal space. In the space behind them, the huge ship body, which was already somewhat tattered, slowly entered the subspace. It's the members of Jia Yan's team. Huh, do you feel it? Among these guys, there are actually a few guys who were our gods. Their strength has gradually become different from our gods. These are existences that have gone on the evil path. If there is a chance, it's okay to kill one or two, but you don't need so many baits anyway. Understood? A group of creatures from the divine realm were not surprised by the sudden appearance of Jia Yan's team. because they had encountered this situation several times before. Every time they pursued the location of the Edissa, they would always bombard the space, and the Edissa would always be knocked around in the bombardments. And was even hit hard twice. If the members of Jia Yan's team among them don't take the initiative to attack, the Edissa will be completely wiped out after a few more trips. So they had to strike. Die. When the two sides met, there was actually no words. The members of Jia Yan's team have faced off and even fought with this group of pursuers several times. So both sides don't need to say anything more. On one side are a group of yin-yang system creatures that are close to the middle level of the stars, and on the other side are the gods or god kings of the great realm of gods. The contact between the two parties is on the verge of breaking out. Don't worry, we have long understood the strength of these guys, and they are all injured. Even our ordinary gods can probably fight them one-on-one without getting hurt. Ha, I know, it just depends on how I deal with that Luo Longxi. As a former member of our gods, she actually fell to another system. This is a shame for all our gods. Then I'll face that cowherd. This guy's strength is quite good. If the God King hadn't taken action last time, he might have been able to take advantage of the siege of our gods. No matter how powerful they are, if they act recklessly in our divine domain, the only thing waiting for them is death. Boom. In the sky, a group of creatures finally came to a sudden battle. Wasn't the cowherd injured today? How come he still has such great energy? This Luo Longxi seems to be different from last time. I actually feel that her combat power has increased by a level. They are two, how could this happen? As soon as they made contact, the creatures in the group immediately felt that the creatures on the opposite side were completely different from the strength they knew. Even those who had fought against this group of Jia Yan subordinates before suddenly felt that the opponents in front of them were not at the same level as when they had fought before. This is impossible. What's going on? Where are their injuries? Hasn't their strength declined? Why is this happening? Ordinary gods are no longer a match for the members of Jia Yan's team in front of them. Suddenly a burst of blood appeared in the starry sky. A divine creature was killed by the cowherd with one blow. These guys from Jia Yan's team, although I don't know how they regained a certain strength, they actually dare to kill people. That's enough. Behind this group of gods are existences at the level of god kings. They are the ones who are in charge during this pursuit. And what they were sitting on was afraid that these members of Jia Yan's team would get violent and hurt others. There was a tacit understanding between the two parties, that is, Jia Yan's team also knew that these creatures from the divine realm came to Shiyuan to use them as bait to fish out the key figure Jia Yan. As long as they don't take the initiative to kill, they will not be killed. Therefore, under normal circumstances, they have not harmed creatures in the realm of the gods. But this time it was different. There was actually a god who was directly killed by the cowherd. This made the expressions of the God King creatures sitting behind them all turn cold. It just so happens that the God Emperor has also said that one or two members of Jia Yan's team can be killed this time. Then I will let the cowherd die. Otherwise, even if someone dies, he will not be avenged. This team it will be difficult for us to take him. A God King flew out of the distant starry sky. He was ready to take action. This God King is a 5-kilometer giant creature that has reached the middle stage of the God King. If according to the standards of outside cosmic creatures, even if divine creatures are generally weak, his strength is at least that of an ordinary stellar mid-level creature. His combat power can be said to be extremely powerful. When he joins the battlefield with his strength, let alone the cowherd, even the other Jia Yan squad members will suffer together. This God King is also very confident. But just when he was about to step into the battle ring. Sudden. Puff. A faint brainwave power made a loud noise from the subspace behind the God King. This God King seemed to be under some kind of immobilization spell. After 3 seconds, his body suddenly exploded as if there was some kind of bomb in it. The pieces of flesh and blood shocked the surrounding creatures of the divine realm, including the members of Jia Yan's team, and their expressions changed drastically. What's going on? Why is Goose dead? What's there? Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1535. All the divine beings were looking at the existence of the middle stage God King in astonishment. At this moment, his body exploded into pieces of flesh, and it was impossible for him to survive. Someone must be causing trouble, someone. Get out of here. On the side of several God Kings, there was a God King whose strength was astonishing, almost a God King, and even ordinary God Kings were no match for him. He instantly understood. Aiming at the place where the Death God King was just now, he roared suddenly. Oh! Ask me who I am. Oh, you guys, don't you want to see me? A voice suddenly sounded from the side of the God King. What? Are you over here? The expressions of several God Kings all changed drastically. The God King was clearly killed by the explosion hundreds of kilometers away, but in such an instant, the person who caused the explosion was right next to them. This was almost unbelievable for them. The God King who just spoke had no understanding of this sudden creature at first, but when he turned around to look, his eyes suddenly froze. Because he actually saw a face that could only be seen in videos or information files. Chia! He had just roared out, but the creature with that face was already sneering, and a brainwave power bombarded him. A strong man at the peak of the Divine King could not even sustain a single move. With a bang, the creature died immediately. This. He is, Jia Yan? How could it be possible? Why did his body become so huge? Moreover, even Master Luan was killed by him with one move. You must know that Master Luan is in existence at the peak of the God King. The surrounding God Kings finally turned around at this moment and saw the horrifying scene that happened in front of them. The creature that came was naturally Jia Yan, who had just returned to the realm of the gods. At this moment, Jia Yan did not look like a small creature in that mysterious world at all, but a terrifying giant that was 10 kilometers in size, not much different from a small star. Compared with the information in the hands of these God Kings, Jia Yan's size was many times larger, and his strength exceeded imagination. After all, after being chased by several great God Emperors, when he left that place of space distortion, although Jia Yan also improved his strength, he had just reached the mid-level star level. According to the judgment of a group of God Kings, the God Kings present encountered Jia Yan. Even if Jia Yan's strength had stabilized for several months, it was still impossible to kill them all in an instant. At least they can hold on until the God Emperors come to help. But now, they actually discovered that the giant mosquito in front of them was beyond their imagination. Not only was its appearance larger than the data, but its strength had also improved by leaps and bounds, reaching a level that they could hardly imagine. Die! A group of God Kings looked at each other and did not retreat. Instead, he directly attacked Jia Yan's joint attack. Don't forget, the gods master the tactic of combined attacks. It is also because of this tactic that even if the gods are inferior to the outside creatures on a single target, they can still occupy a place in the silver system. Reason. At this moment, several God Kings actually joined forces. With our combined attack, even the weakest God Emperor dare not take a direct hit. What's more, we don't believe that you, who just reached the middle level of the star a few months ago, will reach the lower level of the star so quickly, so die. The God King struck down. Jia Yan looked slightly cold, then laughed. He doesn't dare to answer? Since you are looking for death, then I will grant you my wish. Just in time, it can be regarded as asking for some interest for the sins suffered by those subordinates who have been waiting for me loyally these past few months. At this moment, Jia Yan, the figure that had just flown out of the subspace, did not stop at all, and suddenly counterattacked towards the place where the group of God Kings had launched a combined attack. Lord Jia Yan. After that, a group of members of Jia Yan's team who were dealing with ordinary divine creatures were shocked. They could hardly believe that Jia Yan would do such a thing. They don't think that Jia Yan's strength will change as much as his appearance. This is like even if they believe that Jia Yan can improve a little more strength, they don't believe that he can digest it so quickly. It is the transition period for promotion. After all, the powerful people in the universe have their own rules, that is, every time they are promoted, especially the promotion of powerful people, even if the promotion is successful, there will be a transition period. In that situation, many strong people are weaker than before they were promoted. At this moment, they think that Jia Yan's strength, even because he is an evolved beast, is stronger than the previous Jia Yan, but they are not. Maybe a joint effort to deal with the God King level? You know, before Jia Yan disappeared a few months ago, his strength was only indistinguishable from a God King level being. Now he faced 7 or 8 God Kings, and he actually dared to go up to them. This group of subordinates are all worried. Their current strength is actually due to Jia Yan taking out some weird thing and forcibly repairing certain injuries for them, which gave them the strength to fight at this moment. Precisely because of the existence of this extremely powerful material, several subordinates believed that Jia Yan might have another adventure and believed that his tactics had some possibility of implementation. But what they were thinking was that during the battle, Jia Yan used his subspace talent to roam and fight in the subspace, so that he might be able to kill a group of God Kings in front of him. As for the God Emperor further away, they never thought that Jia Yan could defeat him. After all, he was the God Emperor. Even if Jia Yan had a chance and reached the late stage of the astral level, his strength would be similar to that of an ordinary God Emperor. Even because he had only been promoted for a short time, his strength might not be as powerful as a God Emperor. It is completely impossible to deal with the 3 God Emperors. At least that's what this group of subordinates thought. But would Jia Yan himself think so? Die. The combined fighting power of a group of God Kings completely exceeded the combined power of ordinary gods that Jia Yan had seen before. Ordinary creatures who have just been promoted to high-level stars may really be defeated by them. But Jia Yan still did not adopt the method of escaping into the subspace to temporarily avoid the sharp edge. Because he simply felt that it was not necessary. Haha, this kind of strength cannot even be compared to a group of small creatures in that world. Is the strong person I used to think like this? Looking back, it is simply ridiculous. Jia Yan smiled slightly in his heart, and then he used his yin and yang system abilities. In other words, his current yin and yang system should no longer be called such a name, but should be called yin and yang Dao. The power of the Dao is like the feeling rumored on earth. It is the Tao, the ability that comes from the laws of the universe. The power of the Great Road in an instant made Jia Yan's understanding of the 2 words yin and yang even more different. In this universe, yin and yang, the most powerful matter are matter and antimatter. Jia Yan had already obtained an antimatter body before, so that when he understood his yin and yang system, it was almost smooth sailing. The same is true for him now. Creating a material explosive from the yin and yang Dao is almost something he can get at his fingertips. Especially facing this group of God Kings who are not very powerful, or in Jia Yan's eyes, they are no longer powerful God Kings. Jia Yan no longer has any fear, so he has mastered the physical properties of his body. Amount, release a little bit. Then these substances quickly flew up under the power of Jia Yan's brain waves. Came to a group of God Kings. They only felt that Jia Yan, a 10-kilometer-long creature, actually wanted to resist and released a brainwave power that, although terrifying, was not decisive for their combined power. Haha, it's like a mantis's arm is like a chariot. How can an outsider like you understand our joint fighting power? With such little power, he thought he was a God King level being, but he actually wanted to fight against the combined strength of a group of us God Kings, and he didn't know how he died. It's simply too arrogant. I heard that Jia Yan has some subdimensional talent, but he actually doesn't use it against us. He is so arrogant that he can still escape from the hands of several God Emperors. I don't know how it was done. Several God Kings were really angry when they saw that Jia Yan did not avoid their attacks at all. They also felt the brainwave power released by Jia Yan, but no one thought that what possibility would it cause to harm yourself. Die. They joined forces and were in front of Jia Yan in an instant. The power that the God Kings jointly exerted was actually something similar to the power of brainwaves. The attack power of the moment was almost sky-piercing. No matter how much Jia Yan looked down on them now, their combined power was truly terrifying to the level that Jia Yan would have been afraid of before. They even had the power of a God Emperor to strike with all his strength. But will Jia Yan be afraid now? I really am not afraid. I have seen the power of that world, the power of a giant, and the power of the Dao level experts in that world. I have to face these creatures that look powerful but are actually much lower in level. Even if they join forces, Jia Yan doesn't have the slightest fear. He didn't even use his strongest means. Jia Yan has too many methods, and if he wants to use them now, he may kill the enemy beyond the level. But against this group of God Kings, there was no need for him to use those methods. Puff! In an instant, Jia Yan's foot strike, wrapped with a trace of 4-foot material and channeling a trace of yin-yang reaction energy, pierced into the power created by the joint efforts of a group of God King beings. This power is like a ball of brainwave power, but it is a little less powerful than the brainwave power. However, because of this difference, it makes the power between the gods easier to fuse, so they can join forces. This combined power is probably not something that ordinary stellar mid-level creatures can resist. But is Jia Yan an ordinary mid-level star? Wrong, he is no longer a mid-level star, but has now reached the strength of a high-level star. Even if he was just a mid-level star, if he had the strength he had a few months ago before entering that world, he would not necessarily lose to the combined efforts of this group of God Kings. Not to mention the time when his strength has been turned upside down. Boom! Between heaven and earth, a shocking sound of explosion of power suddenly erupted. It turns out that there is an explosion of power in the universe where there is no sound. This is because the shock caused by the explosion is not transmitted through the explosion of air, but through the explosion of space itself. Such a level of power cannot be achieved by ordinary explosive power. Die. But this confrontation and explosion only lasted for a short 3 or 4 seconds. Jia Yan, who was confronting a group of God King creatures, suddenly had a flash of light in his eyes and roared angrily. Puff! Suddenly, following his roar, a God King level creature spurted out a trace of blood with disbelief in its eyes. Then, another God King level creature also spurted out blood. There was complete disbelief in their eyes. Because at this moment, what Jia Yan used was not the subspace talent, nor was it some other evil way. Instead, he used direct force to crush them directly in front of Shiyuan. They even had no chance to resist Jia Yan for 10 seconds. You must know that they were 10 God King level beings. 10 God Kings join forces. With this terrifying fighting power, even an ordinary God King can probably fight for at least a minute or two, and there is even a slight possibility of defeating even a God King. But now under Jia Yan's hands, they could only resist for a few seconds. How can this be? A God King couldn't even finish the last sentence, so he closed his eyes forever. His strength was the weakest among the group of God Kings, so he died the fastest. Next, a group of God Kings, one by one, completely lost their internal organs and vitality due to the shock of power, with bitter smiles in their eyes, and they all died. With one blow, Jia Yan, a powerful person who could reach the lower level of the star, actually forced a group of God King level beings to death. What a terrible battle! the winner is actually Mr. Jiayan. This, my God, my Lord has won. Why is this happening? Our Lord God King, so many reliable seniors, all died in one move. Does Jiayan really have any big opportunities? Near this battlefield, the gods, or subordinates of Jiayan's team were completely shocked at this moment. Although 1 against 10 is not an exaggeration, it is terrifying to be against nearly 10 god kings. At this moment, everyone looked at Jiayan. It's no longer the previous contempt. Huh? Here we come. Before anyone else could say anything, Jiayan had already set his sights on the distant dark starry sky. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1536. Happy New Year to everyone. In the distant starry sky, a rapidly approaching afterimage came through the space as fast as lightning. This is an existence that has reached the level of a god emperor. His strength is extremely powerful, reaching the level of one of the most terrifying strong men Jiayan has ever seen in this galaxy. And this existence is exactly what Jiayan has dealt with before. He was one of the god emperors who forced Jiayan to leave the starry sky and had to escape into the twisted subspace and then teleport to another world. Its speed is extremely astonishing. Even though it is not on any space battleship, it is still disappearing in space. Its speed is not much slower than ordinary battleships. This was the God Emperor who had dealt with Jiayan before and had an advantage in speed. The terrifying power in his body is faintly aroused but not released. Haha, Jiayan did show up. I was the first to receive the news and the first to rush over. They must not be as fast as me. In this way, I can finally get the head start. The God Emperor looked slightly excited. He had just received the news and rushed over quickly. Even Jiayan's subsequent strength display was not fully known to him now. Although he also knew that the so-called evolved beast who dared to appear after such a long time must have improved in strength, otherwise how could he dare to appear rashly? But no matter how diligent he is, he still won't be able to match his strength. In the distance, a huge figure appeared in his sight. Huh? How could it be possible? Why did he become so huge? The demeanor of this divine emperor creature changed slightly. He is actually as huge as me. Could it be that his strength has reached the so-called lower level of stars? This is impossible. In just a few months, even if he is from the legendary evolutionary beast clan, I don't believe he can make such rapid progress. This God Emperor creature knows a lot about Jiayan's strength. At the beginning, they thought that Jiayan must be dead because they hit Jiayan into the twisted space, so they left indifferently. But a God Emperor was not so reassured and found a very powerful and mysterious strong man. This strong man had a unique ability in the universe, that is, he could predict and tell fortunes. Yes, there are similar existences in the universe, and their success rate is not low. The specific principles may be similar to some of the principles in the universe. Even these beings have touched the edge of the Tao, so their fortune telling is very accurate. And this fortune teller came to the conclusion that the Jiayan whom the 3 god emperors went to kill was not dead. This made the 3 god emperors greatly shocked. While they didn't believe it, they sent heavy troops back here. After returning, they discovered that Jiayan's subordinates did not leave their place after losing their leader, but stayed here and lurked quietly. This further confirmed the calculation of the powerful fortune teller. Is Jiayan really alive? The 3 god emperors were furious and looked angry and frightened. Naturally, they were angry because the 3 great gods took action, but none of them killed a mere creature who had just been promoted to the mid-level star. What was surprising was that this clan of evolved beasts seemed to be as difficult to kill as the legend said. They were even forced into the place of space distortion, and the power of 3 powerful men bombarded them away. Not even dead. This made the three great god emperors feel extremely afraid of Jia, a creature they had offended. Since he has been offended, if Jia can really reach a very terrifying level in the future, then these three divine emperors will definitely be the first to be retaliated by Jia. In this case, it is better to check the information about this evolved beast carefully, and when he appears, kill him with one blow. After thinking this way, the three god emperors got together and discussed such a strategy. And then, the subordinates waiting for Jia in this space were continuously sniped by the elite team sent by the three god emperors. Although their fighting power was strong, they were still like an eagle catching a chicken when facing the god emperor's team with the god king at his command. Many of them were quickly hit with serious injuries, while the rest suffered minor injuries. And even in such a precarious situation, none of these subordinates revealed Jiayan's location. So the three god emperors thought about it. Either the members of Jiayan's team didn't know Jiayan's whereabouts, or they were really loyal to Jiayan and couldn't force them to reveal Jiayan's whereabouts through coercion and inducement. No matter which one of these guesses, it is impossible or difficult for the members of Jiayan's team to tell them where Jiayan is. So in this war, the three god emperors have already said that if the members of Jiayan's team dare to resist, they will no longer be injured but not killed as before. If they want to kill them, they can just kill them. They were ready to simply kill all the members of Jiayan's team who could not be used. But they never expected that Jiayan would suddenly appear just when they had made up their minds. Haha, you actually dare to show up. No matter whether you become stronger or not, or even if you become a high-level star, so what? We have all been at the level of God Emperor for a long time, and we are not even ordinary gods. Emperor, a newly promoted star to the lower level, even if it is a high-level evolutionary beast of the star, how strong can it be? This divine emperor creature is an existence that looks like a centipede. At this time, he looked at Jiayan, who was approaching rapidly, and directly spit out a ball of silk-like material in his mouth. The viscosity of this substance is extremely high, and if you get stuck on it, you will definitely be trapped to death in an instant. This is another one of this creature's unique tricks and one of his accurate talents. I rely on this skill. It is a very unique existence among the god emperors. It is not that simple for you to avoid my silk screen. The god emperor sneered. Because this divine emperor creature arrived too quickly, by the time the divine creatures fighting on the other side and the beings of Jiayan's team noticed his arrival, the divine emperor had already arrived beside Jiayan. What? The god emperor is here. This, Master Jiayan, be careful. It's over. Your Excellency, you don't even have time to escape into the subspace. It's definitely over. Even if your Excellency has just been promoted to a high-level star, how can a newly promoted high-level star be able to fight against a strong man who has been at the level of the God Emperor for a long time? The creatures here, whether they were members of Jiayan's team or the gods, were all shocked by this sudden scene. The gods were naturally extremely happy because their true backbone, one of the three divine emperors, had appeared. As for the members of Jiayan's team, their expressions turned pale for a moment. They couldn't believe that Jiayan could fight against such a majestic god. Tangle me to death. What the god emperor is afraid of is Jiayan escaping into the subspace. After all, he is not a subspace creature. Even if he has a certain combat power to attack the subspace, it will be a lot of trouble. So his sudden appearance wanted to catch Jiayan off guard. As long as the silk net wrapped Jiayan, he believed that even if Jiayan had wings, it would be absolutely impossible for him to escape. Oh! Silk screen, haha, that's a pretty good talent. But compared with the silk mesh bugs in that world, your mesh is still far behind. Jiayan saw the god emperor shooting towards him. In the past, when he sensed the arrival of the god emperor, Jiayan would be frightened and even frightened to the point of not knowing what to do. But today is different. He has seen too many powerful people in another world. Even there are many powerful beings beyond his imagination. In other words, there are some powerful people that Jia Yan has not seen yet, who may be stronger than the most powerful people in the entire galaxy. A strong person might be even stronger. And during this experience, Jia Yan was promoted to the lower level of a star, and then he even mastered the understanding of Tao. With the help of both parties, his evolved beast's combat effectiveness has soared even higher than under normal circumstances. So why should we be afraid of a mere powerful God Emperor? Heh, do you think I will hide in the subspace? Jia Yan smiled, but did not hide in the subspace. Under the sky-wide silk net, the expression of the God Emperor creature changed slightly. In these silk meshes, he deliberately placed a gap and asked Jia Yan to hide there. Whether he then retreated into the subspace was a matter under his control. As long as Jia Yan follows his wishes and dodges, he will have a series of back ups. He didn't move. Could it be that I think highly of him? He couldn't react to my attack at all. This divine emperor creature immediately thought of a reasonable explanation for Jia Yan's actions at this time. He would never believe that Jia Yan was looking down on him. Crack. There was a teeth-searing sound in the starry sky. In the vacuum where there was no sound, even the space was rubbed to make sounds. Jia Yan looked at the overwhelming wire mesh indifferently. Then his front feet stretched out faintly. Under the gaze of all the creatures and onlookers, his front feet were instantly filled with a layer of azure color, and then this azure color, like a strange blue cold light, turned into a blade. Cut down instantly. My silk screen can't be cut off so easily. The God Emperor showed a sneer. This silk web was sprayed from his mouth, but usually, it was the silk thread that existed in his body. You must know that something that can be nurtured by a God Emperor is definitely not a simple thing. The toughness of this thread is definitely greater than that of almost any technological creation, and their combined effect of binding people is absolutely extremely powerful, and there is almost no possibility of it being torn apart. Seeing that Jia Yan, the target creature of the silk net, did not avoid it, but chose to cut his thread, the creature suddenly smiled. To deal with his silk screen, in addition to escaping, we have to use some tricky methods. And using simple and crude methods such as cutting and slashing, other God Emperors may not be able to do it. Even if they can do it, it will definitely be a waste. With great effort, he will be able to take the opportunity to kill the God Emperor, so no one else will actually do it. But this so-called evolved beast whose strength has only just reached the lower level of a star, and is definitely not as powerful as him, is actually looking for death and wants to cut his mesh? It's just a fool's errand. He sneered, wanting to wait and see how this Jia Yan could cut through his own silk net, and then get entangled, and then he would step forward and kill him or capture him alive. Stable. He felt that after planning for so long, today's harvest was actually obtained by himself, which was simply a very proud thing. Under such circumstances, the surrounding gods and members of Jia Yan's team all had different expressions. The members of the spiritual team were naturally extremely happy. I think I have a winning chance. The members of Jia Yan's team were all in mourning, as if Jia Yan was definitely doomed and they would not end well. After all, in front of a God Emperor, they definitely have no possibility of escaping, and the God Emperor's target should be Jia Yan. Small characters like them will definitely kill him directly after they achieve their goal. They even wonder in their hearts, if they tell the story about their yin and yang skills, if they tell it, will they live longer? One by one, the nearby combatants, even if they were still fighting, turned their attention to their side. Everyone knew that the result of their battle could not affect the real outcome of the battle. The real result would only be based on the victory or defeat between the God Emperor and Jia Yan. Of course, even the members of Jia Yan's team who had more trust in Jia Yan would not think that Jia Yan would be the winner. What they hope is that Jia Yan can escape, which is considered good, of course. It is the best thing to be able to help them escape from this battlefield before escaping. Bundle. When Jia Yan cut off his front legs, the centipede creature gave a cold shout. The two sides met in an instant. Puff. In the air, a sharp edge flashed. Countless threads appeared in the sky, in the disbelieving gaze of the God Emperor, and in the eyes of the surrounding bystanders. It ended like this. Really broken. The extremely sticky thread actually broke into countless pieces. A series of shocking noises sounded. There is adhesion between the silk threads, and the toughness should be excellent, but under the blue forefoot, it is like ordinary straw, which is cut open one by one in an instant. The front feet were not very sharp, but seemed to be some kind of magic weapon, completely cutting the thread into two pieces. This is impossible. The God Emperor still kept spraying out silk threads, and even threads were still spraying out from his mouth. But the gushing thread was chopped into countless pieces by Jia Yan, a being who he absolutely did not believe had such strength. Why is it impossible? In a few months, he is no longer the Wu Xiaoman he was back then. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin Yu. Chapter 1537. As soon as they arrived in the starry sky, the two staggered and spread out. Although Jia Yan can easily cut off the silk net, it does not mean that he can easily defeat the Star King level powerhouse. After all, the Star King has reached the same level as the current Jia Yan. And Jia Yan has indeed just been promoted. A star level being who has just been promoted is definitely not as powerful as an experienced high-level star level being. Although this God Emperor level being is incomparable with a veteran high-level star level being, it is not as powerful as an ordinary high-level star level being. Compared with those who have just been promoted to high level, they are definitely stronger than weak. Puff. The intersection between the two sides exploded again in the universe. Horrible. The presence of the Star King caused severe pain in every joint, almost during the battle with Jia Yan. He was not injured, but he was not far away from being injured. His whole body was in severe pain due to the collision of forces. So the God Emperor finally knew. Through these few blows, he had truly determined Jia Yan's true level. You have actually been promoted to the high level of a star? And your strength has actually reached my level. He was almost stunned. After all, as a God Emperor level powerhouse, he has lived long enough and has seen too many creatures, including countless so-called talented people among them. But those so-called talented people are nothing compared to the evolved beast in front of them. A person who had just been promoted to the mid-level star a few months ago has actually been promoted to the mid-level star a few months ago. Let alone continue to improve his strength, other strong people may not even have fully stabilized their strength after promotion. But this Jia Yan was lucky enough to be promoted to another level in one breath. He racked his brains and couldn't imagine what kind of promotion speed this was. Within a few months, he was promoted from the middle level of a star to the lower level of a star. If you put it in the cosmic system, of course it sounds like nothing, but in their God system, it is equivalent to a big level improvement. The level of God King is raised to God Emperor. You must know that most talented God Kings need at least decades of hard work to advance from God King to God Emperor. And those with less talent will be stuck at the God King level for the rest of their lives. God Emperor. After a blow-by-blow battle between Jia Yan and the centipede God Emperor, although he did not completely defeat the opponent, psychologically, his advantage was getting bigger and bigger. Moreover, Jia Yan's deliberate direct confrontation method was also because he deliberately let himself see what kind of strength this so-called God Emperor was. During the last battle, the combat effectiveness of the two sides was really far apart. In this battle, Jia Yan has already analyzed that if the combat power of this God Emperor is not the weakest among the three God Emperors, or even if it is weak, it is close to the other two, then he will a bit low. Compared with the powerful people in that world, it is simply ridiculous. Even among the group of controllers I dealt with before, the last controller who appeared was much stronger than them. Jia Yan analyzed the fighting power of the God Emperor, and then his eyes narrowed again. Because in a distant place, two figures roaring before and after suddenly arrived. The current Jia Yan is indeed no longer Wu Xiamen. The original Jia Yan could not even capture the approaching figure of the God Emperor. But now, he could not only clearly see, but also feel the gap in strength between their strength and that of the God Emperor fighting in front of him. Sure enough, although the centipede God Emperor who fought with me is not the strongest among them, there is no fundamental difference in strength between them and the two of them. He is even a little stronger than one of them. Jia Yan instantly analyzed the strength gap. At the same time that his eyes were on the two approaching figures, the God Emperor who was confronting him also felt the presence of the two powerful men coming. Haha, you are here. Come on, this Jia Yan has actually promoted him. Let's join forces with our three God Emperors to kill him. Otherwise, this so-called evolved beast will be really scary. We know even if you don't tell us. The expressions of the two approaching divine emperors were also moved at this moment. They looked at Jia Yan, who stood proudly in the void and showed no fear at all. A few months ago, under their joint pursuit, Jia Yan had no choice but to escape in a panic. He was even forced to the end and had no choice but to enter that twisted place with great risks. But things are different now. Jia Yan actually had no idea of escaping when the three divine emperors arrived. Standing so proudly in the void, he looked completely different from a few months ago. Is this the talent of the evolved beast? It's simply scarier than what's in the legend. The two divine emperors looked at each other. Since they both chose to join forces to fight shamelessly last time when Jia Yan was not at his current strength, they had no hesitation this time. They must kill such an existence that may affect their territory, or even the future of the entire divine realm. Come on directly, don't talk much, let him escape to the subspace, we will be in trouble. The exchange between the three God Emperors seemed to involve a lot of talking, but in fact it was completed quickly because of the power of brain waves. Three people joining forces? Are we going to do this again? Jia Yan watched from a distance as the three God Emperors joined forces in an instant, with a dangerous light flashing in his compound eyes. It was these three God Emperors who almost killed him last time. If that world did not exist and he was swallowed by the distorted land and directly reached a Jedi, he would definitely die without a burial. In other words, when he arrived in that world, he was eaten by the bat-like creature at the first moment. Wouldn't it mean that he would never die again? Therefore, Jia Yan wanted to get rid of these three people quickly. And just after Jia Yan's eyes flashed with murderous intent, the three approaching God Emperors suddenly felt a chill all over their bodies for some unknown reason. You must know that the aura of a strong man is enough to influence others, and Jia Yan's strength has indeed reached the point where the three God Emperors must look up at this moment, so they were captured by Jia Yan's aura. It's not something unbelievable. This guy's strength has reached this level. How is this possible? What happened when he entered that twisted space? The existence of the three God Emperors were simply astonished by Jia Yan's strength. You must know that they already have a very high opinion of Jia Yan's strength, and they also value his potential to an incomparable level, so they have such a high level. At that time, the joint attack was just a matter of a man who had just been promoted to a mid-level star. But no matter how powerful their imaginations were or how exaggerated their thoughts were, they never thought that Jia Yan would actually reach a level of strength that could make them all tremble when he appeared after disappearing for several months. This must be a lie. The three of us join forces. What are we afraid of? Yes, I heard that certain talents or abilities can make outsiders feel that the strength of the creature that exerts its strength is stronger than theirs. Maybe in a fight, this Jia Yan is no match for the three of us. Let's go. The three divine emperors were also experienced in many battles. How could they be affected by Jia Yan's sudden release of power? What's more, Jia Yan really didn't want to use his own strength to directly influence these three god emperors and lose their combat effectiveness. He wanted to kill these three enemies in an upright manner. Before, when a god emperor came, I used my own frontal combat strength to fight him without even using other more powerful powers. But now these three god emperors have come and want me to fight with ordinary physical combat methods. That's impossible. Jia Yan snorted coldly, and then stepped back directly, retreating into subspace. Puff. Poof. As soon as he left, three attacks in almost no particular order, or wire mesh or something, landed directly on the starry sky where Jia Yan was standing just now. You must know that these three major creatures that have reached the 10-kilometer level are fighting, and the scope of influence is too wide. A group of surrounding gods, as well as several of Jia Yan's subordinates, immediately did not dare to continue fighting and retreated one after another. Their fighting power is at the level of a group of gods after several god kings died. Even Jia Yan's group of subordinates are only at the level where they can survive under the hands of ordinary god kings. Therefore, in a battle situation when encountering a being like the god emperor, let alone helping or interfering, they were lucky to be able to die without being affected by the aftermath. Alas, Your Excellency has reached such a point so quickly. We wanted to continue to follow in his footsteps and help you move forward together, but we didn't expect that we would be unable to keep up with him so quickly. Because of Jia Yan's sudden outburst, Tian Nialang's eyes were about to pop out when he killed the God King. Now he actually defeated a God Emperor, and then fought three God Emperors. He even smiled bitterly in shock. Several other subordinates thought so too. They originally wanted to follow Jia Yan's footsteps, so that they could always be by the side of a legendary being. Generally speaking, the improvement of strength would not be slow, not to mention the yin and yang system created by Jia Yan. For them, it is already something that cannot be separated from, and the speed of improvement will definitely not be slow because of Jia Yan's personal guidance. This will bring many benefits to them. But Jia Yan's current strength far exceeds theirs, so it will be difficult for him to continue to follow this master in the future. Boom! With a loud noise, Jia Yan suddenly emerged from the subspace, and struck a blow suddenly with the careless God Emperor. Although the God Emperor responded at the last moment, he launched a counter-attack directly at Jia Yan and blocked his attack with his front foot, stabbing his head. However, this hasty reaction caused him to mobilize all his strength. Not even. So if there is no intention to calculate, how can he be Jia Yan's opponent? In an instant, the God Emperor was sent flying by Jia Yan. Puff! In the starry sky, the God Emperor kept flying upside down, spurting out a mouthful of blood. How dare you! On the other side, the centipede God Emperor just saw the scene and wanted to yell something. Around him, the line suddenly tore apart. Because of his promotion, Jia Yan's speed in subspace can be described as cheating. Over there, a God Emperor had just been knocked away and blood spurted out. Here, he launched an attack on the centipede God Emperor, who was just about to say something and was a little relaxed. Damn, why so fast? The centipede creature already knows that Jia Yan's great ability lies in his subspace talent, so he is already very careful about the subspace. But at this moment, he clearly felt that Jia Yan was still in the subspace over there, but he found that another Jia Yan had emerged behind him. Although he didn't know how Jia Yan did it, he understood that his detection organs were no longer enough to guard Jia Yan. Careful! At the critical moment, on the side of the centipede creature, the last God Emperor took action. This is the advantage of having more people. If one person cannot react, the other will. Moreover, they have more people, more eyes, more hands and feet, so they have a huge advantage even if their combat power is not much different. Boom! The last God Emperor creature, and the forefoot stabbed by Jia Yan, directly encountered one point. There was another burst of power distortion in the starry sky. The scene was amazing. Jia Yan's two blows back and forth actually forced the two god emperors to almost be in great danger. This made the viewers watching on the side almost dumbfounded, as if they had a huge fear. Shocking. Is this, really our Lord Jia Yan? I'm not dreaming, am I? I thought before that when the Lord returns, he can deal with several god kings, which means that his strength has improved a lot, but now, he has actually dealt with 3 god kings. That's right, he actually fought against 3 god emperors. This is amazing. You know, those are 3 god emperors. When we were chasing us, if the god emperor took action, a group of us wouldn't even be able to take a single blow from the god emperor. But now, under Lord Jia Yan's attack, they are instantly in danger. The members of Jia Yan's team were really dumbfounded and looked weird. This is true for all of them who have already understood and prepared for Jia Yan's ability to cross levels, not to mention the group of divine creatures on the side. They looked at their own god emperor. In the past, there seemed to be an omnipotent existence, but there were not 1, but 3. Under Jia Yan's attack, they were fidgeting. This made them even more confused. No will to fight. 3 adults are in danger, how could this happen? Let's go quickly, Jia Yan's strength is simply extraordinary and terrifying. How could this be possible? That Jia Yan is very powerful, but we 3 adults didn't use all our strength. Just wait and see, the adults will definitely explode with strength and kill him. Although they were scared to death, they still firmly believed that the strength of the 3 god emperors was absolutely impossible to defeat a mere outsider. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1538. Ordinary gods still believe in the 3 divine emperors. The 2 sides fighting over there could no longer care about the mood of their subordinates at this time. If they don't try hard to dodge, they might be attacked by the opponent. The 3 god emperors were almost helpless. Fear and ignorance of unknown things made them feel naturally frightened towards Jia Yan today. Especially the combat IQ during the battle was slightly affected. Regarding Jia Yan, they knew from the beginning that he was an evolved beast. This is a legendary racial creature that has reached this great realm of gods and has not appeared before, but is still famous in the outside world and has spread to this place. And they also know that this creature must have its own unique talents. So they didn't say they looked down on Jia Yan before, otherwise they wouldn't have hunted him down when Jia Yan was only an elementary star. But what they never expected was that when they first entered the realm of gods, Jia Yan, who was only at the elementary level of a star, would slowly increase his strength during their pursuit. From the beginning of the stellar level, by the time they were chasing them in person, they had already entered the intermediate level of the star. Even now, Jia Yan has actually reached the high-level star level, which is the same as the 3 divine emperors. That's right, the strength of the god emperor level is just a cosmic powerhouse in the outside world, which is equivalent to a high-level stellar being. Moreover, the strength of divine creatures is at a discount compared to the creatures of the outside world, so their strength, even among the god emperors, is not considered to be the weakest level, but in actual terms, it is only the same as an ordinary first-timer from the outside world. There is not much difference between the high-level creatures that harbor stars. If Jia Yan was an ordinary high-level warrior who had just been promoted to a high-level star, they wouldn't feel any fear. But the problem is that Jia Yan is not an ordinary high-level star being who has just been promoted. It is true that his strength has just been promoted, but his identity is that of an evolved beast. In the past, these 3 god emperors did not really care much about the argument that evolved beasts could transcend levels to fight enemies. But now that Jia Yan has reached the high level of stars, this argument is in their hearts, as if they suddenly have a huge power. Pressure. If the evolved beasts can transcend the ranks and fight against the enemy, then the cooperation of the 3 divine emperors may not necessarily be the opponent of the so-called Jia Yan. Quick, let's use the gods' combined combat skills. Several god emperors were caught off guard when Jia Yan suddenly appeared in the subspace. Even a rhinoceros-like creature was hit in the back by Jia Yan. Although he was not seriously injured, blood still spurted out. At this time, the three of them could no longer ignore Jia Yan's attacks. Not to mention that this evolved beast is powerful. What's even more disgusting is that his talent is actually in the subspace. Every time he appears, they can't guard against it. Originally, with their strength, it was more than enough to deal with ordinary subspace creatures, but against Jia Yan, now there is actually not much difference between his strength and these powerful god emperors, so this time the space talent the advantages are reflected. This is not to say that the three great god emperors have no ability to explore the subspace, but they are not talented beings in the subspace. It is not impossible to use their own power to detect the fluctuations of the subspace. It is just comparing Jia Yan's strength. The speed of this exploration cannot keep up at all. If Jia Yan was still the previous mid-level star, they might still be able to keep up, and they could even easily react in advance when Jia Yan appeared in the subspace around them, possibly seriously injuring Jia Yan. But not now. Puff. A thrust from the front foot suddenly appeared. But before that, although his target creature did not react, the other god emperor beside him had already started to work together with the three of them. Suddenly they saw the appearance of Jia Yan, and then his front feet directly blocked Jia Yan's attacking front foot. There was a handover between the two sides. In the void of the universe, a huge explosion sounded. What? This was the only time the creature that Jia Yan targeted was able to react. He looked back and found that the foot of the powerful god emperor who was helping him had a small wound stabbed by Jia Yan's front foot when he was resisting Jia Yan. Jia Yan on the other end just wanted to retreat into the subspace. Even if he was sure that he would not suffer too many injuries while dealing with the three divine emperors at the same time, and could angle them head-on, Jia Yan did not want to get hurt. After all, their team was still within the realm of the gods. If the enemies were only these three god emperors, Jia Yan would have nothing to worry about, but the enemies were not just these three god emperors. Behind them, there might be a god emperor, or even more than one god emperor. And that is Jia Yan's biggest headache. After all, his current strength has only just been promoted. Let alone killing the god emperor beyond the level, he himself estimates that even the more powerful god emperor will be difficult for him to deal with. Evolved beasts say they can fight across levels, and Jia Yan is also very confident. If he uses all his methods, he should have no problem dealing with a powerful god emperor, but the god emperor is different. After all, he has not fully stabilized his strength now, and most of his combat power has been improved through insights. Now his insights have not yet reached the level of the lower level stars. In other words, although he has advanced, his strength in software is not really that of a star. Therefore, Jia Yan did not dare to be injured. If he was injured or even consumed too much combat power, there might be another crisis in the future, and it might be the time when he and the team members behind him would be directly beheaded. With his talent in subspace, even if he doesn't use all his real strength to fight, he will not be able to fight against the three god emperors whose strength is not much different from that of the controller. At most, it is similar to those who control the strongest person. Yan is not afraid of anything at all. Puff. Jia Yan emerged from the subspace again. This time, even if the three divine emperors still joined forces, one of them still had a slight opening. Jia Yan's attack hit his side and abdomen. Well. The demeanor of the god emperor changed drastically. He had already made a defensive posture just now, but this posture had a little effect, allowing him to avoid Jia Yan's most lethal force at the critical moment, but his front foot still pierced the edge of his abdomen. A strong man's attack does not mean that if it reaches the edge, it will be completely fine. Jia Yan's brainwave power suddenly exploded through the piercing edge. Ah! A huge gash suddenly opened up in the god emperor's abdomen. If he hadn't completely avoided looking at the vital points just now, the entire abdomen might have been completely exploded now. Damn it! The centipede god emperor on the other side quickly shook one of his feet and came to support. Now the three god emperors finally understood that they were barely able to protect themselves under the attack of Jia Yan alone, but if one of them was lost, all three of them might die. Heh, I knew you would come to support me. Jia Yan's faint smile caused the expressions of the two god emperors watching on the side to change wildly. They came to support because they were afraid of what Jia Yan had planned. But unfortunately, they can't help the god emperor. Without one person, they will definitely die without a burial place. Die to me. A divine emperor aimed at Jia Yan's vital point and struck with one blow. Although he couldn't tell whether the weird smile Jia Yan showed them just now really had some plot, he couldn't help but step forward. The three god emperors were barely able to hold on to the battle scene. Let's seek help quickly, especially from His Excellency the God Emperor. A God Emperor level powerhouse with unpredictable means may be able to help us. Several God Emperors had already had a conversation in the midst of this electric battle, and then the God Emperor, who had not yet fully entered the battlefield, sent out an urgent distress signal. But here, Jia Yan didn't care whether they asked for help or not. After he struck, he was originally going to continue to chase the God Emperor who was injured by his attack. When he saw the God Emperor on the other side coming to help, he couldn't help but preparing for a head-on collision. He retreated into the subspace with a smile. The God Emperor who rushed to the rescue struck the empty space with one blow. Damn it, he actually avoided me again. Both God Emperors were a little embarrassed. The God Emperor whose abdomen exploded after being attacked by Jia Yan was slightly injured, while the other God Emperor suffered a lot of internal strength due to the sudden burst of rescue power. That's right, the current God Emperors suddenly felt that the gods' biggest disadvantage was slowly causing them to lose the opportunity to fight. The biggest problem with spiritual creatures is their lack of physical fitness. There are no exceptions for the three current God Emperors. After fighting for a while, even if they were 3 against 1, under the super physical strength of Jia Yan's evolved beast creature, the three God Emperors slowly lost their physical strength. Jia Yan's physical fitness took the advantage at this moment. At this moment, Jia Yan also noticed this. Oh, so the divine creatures are simply a group of relatively failed cases in the evolutionary world. Jia Yan sneered, and then opened a gap in the subspace. Then, he suddenly stepped out of the subspace through the gap. At this moment, the three God Emperors suddenly felt that Jia Yan this time was not a simple feint attack like before. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Die. Jia Yan's momentum rose to the highest level he could at this moment. What, this guy still had some strength just now. When the three God Emperors first felt Jia Yan's explosive strength, they realized that Jia Yan had not revealed all his strength just now. At this moment, Jia Yan unleashed all his strength. This, run away. When the God Emperor whose abdomen exploded became Jia Yan's first target, the other two God Emperors had come to rescue just now because it was beneficial to both sides, but now they saw that Jia Yan was about to explode with strength. It was not something they could resist. Finally, a trace of fear arose in their hearts. They immediately did not dare to make any rescue move. Instead of advancing, they retreated, facing Jia Yan from the opposite direction of attacking the God Emperor, and suddenly fled away. They burst out with speed, and the God Emperor who was Jia Yan's target showed a wry smile in his eyes at this moment. He knew that if he were in the position of the two God Emperors, he would definitely choose this way, because he also felt that Jia Yan was not something that the three God Emperors could handle together. Evolved beast, what kind of accuracy is it? It's so unbelievable, I don't want to accept it. His eyes became fierce. Since Jia Yan wanted him to die, he also wanted Jia Yan to look good. Instead of retreating, he advanced, and he and Jia Yan's approaching figure instantly got closer. If Jia Yan insists on attacking him, his counterattack will also fall on Jia Yan's body. Even if Jia Yan will not be seriously injured, minor injuries are inevitable. Humph, you want to play this trick with me? Jia Yan's expression turned cold. Then, in his explosive momentum, there was a tiny thing, like a thrown bullet. Even though it looked smaller, its speed was far faster than the two, and it shot directly to the god. On the emperor's body. Because this thing is too small, even if the god emperor saw it, he knew that this must be an attack method of Jia Yan, but he was already ready to fight, so he would not care. You're going to die anyway, why do you still care about the threat of such a little thing? But what he didn't expect at all was that something that was only a few meters in size at most, and almost as small as gravel to their huge figures, would suddenly erupt with terrifying explosive power at this moment. Boom! In the starry sky of the universe, there was suddenly a shocking sound and an explosion. The power of this explosion is so terrifying. What on earth is it? Could it be that large-scale technological weapons can't be used? It shouldn't be. Such terrifying power must be unleashed by large-scale artillery fire. Not to mention such accuracy, that kind of artillery fire shouldn't even be that small. What on earth is it? The two retreating god emperors were directly shocked by the terrifying light of the explosion at this moment. They couldn't even figure out what kind of method this was, or whether it was a technological method or the combat power of a strong man. They were all a little confused. But one thing they knew was that this was definitely Jia Yan's method. As expected, I saw it in the center of the explosion. A creature with terrifying blue brilliance emitted from the darkness suddenly flew out of the void. Jia Yan. Where is that adult? The two divine emperors looked at the creature flying out with great shock. But when they looked back, where could there be another god emperor? They only saw that there were only pieces of meat in the universe, floating in space. That Your Excellency actually died like this. We definitely can't resist, so run away. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1539. As a god emperor, although he cannot be said to be the absolute supreme in this great realm of gods, but without exception, the god emperor has a similar existence. How can these two god emperors have experienced this in so many years? Feeling weak. Asshole, that was a god emperor in our spirit realm. He actually killed Jia Yan like this. If any god emperor knew about this, he would definitely die without a burial place. The centipede god emperor almost gritted his teeth with hatred. Of course, he also knew that even if Jia Yan did not kill any of them, the news of his appearance alone would attract the attention of the powerful men in the divine realm. And his strength has actually soared to a level that even their ordinary god emperor cannot resist. If the god emperor exists, he will definitely take action. Escape, everything can only be done after escaping. We must quickly convey the horror of this evolved beast. The two god emperors very wisely chose two directions to escape. Their speed is definitely not slow. If Jia Yan chases one of them, even if he has subspace talent, it will be difficult to chase the next one. What's more, the god emperor who was caught up was definitely not waiting to die. Oh, run separately. In the subspace, Jia Yan's dark compound eyes revealed an aura of indifference. Now that he was sure that he could defeat these so-called god emperors, he had already thought about the issue of their escape. In the subspace, Jia Yan first chased the centipede creature. As for the god emperor on the other side, he threw out a substance that looked like a piece of flesh. This is part of his antimatter torso. The so-called torso part was Jia Yan deliberately taking off a bit of his own wing membrane, and then taking the flesh and blood on it with him. Although it seemed to destroy the beauty of his body, If he could seriously injure or even kill a God Emperor level powerhouse, it would for Jia Yan, it was a good deal. As for whether the broken body would hit after chasing him, Jia Yan didn't have much choice. Everything depended on the luck of the escaping God Emperor. Although the centipede creature escaping here didn't know what Jia Yan was doing in the subspace, it didn't dare to slow down its escape at all. Don't be the one chasing me, he thought to himself. After all, given the opportunity to choose between the two, even if he felt that he had a bit of a backup, it might not be that easy for Jia Yan to kill him, but if he could avoid fighting the evolved beast, he would still not want to do it. But things went counterproductive. Puff. A sharp front foot stabbed out from the starry sky. You actually came to find me. He smiled bitterly, and then his body suddenly moved. Beige's body twisted in an instant, and Jia Yan's thrusting forefoot was aimed at one of his limbs. After this twist, the limbs bent, and it was the first time that Jia Yan's attack failed. Oh! Jia Yan's slightly stunned voice sounded in the subspace. It's disrespectful to come back without reciprocating. Look at my silk screen attack. Seeing Jia Yan's attack miss, the centipede god emperor didn't dare to think about anything else, and quickly spit out strips of silk mesh from his mouth. For him, the most expensive part of this battle was the silk screen that he had been brewing for a long time. At least decades of hard work were in vain. But it's all worth it. Compared with the silk mesh that can be repaired with just a little practice, I believe smart people know which one to choose. It's the silk screen again. While Jia Yan was chasing him, he was suddenly blocked by a silk screen, and his expression suddenly showed a hint of impatience. Among the strengths of the centipede creature, what bothers him the most is the silk screen. After all, at the level of the God Emperor, which is the lower level of stars in the outside world, and can use the talents of his own race to fight, it will definitely not be simple thing. Even though it was easy for him to cut the wire mesh just now, there are so many wire meshes that it is still possible to block him. Just as Jia Yan's front foot was about to thrust out again, it was blocked by the silk net for a moment. Blow it up for me. A hint of coldness suddenly appeared in Jia Yan's expression. Boom. In the sky, a shocking explosion of light exploded directly in the starry sky of the universe. It turns out that Jia Yan was impatient and used the power of his yin and yang dao. Yin-yang dao is a path that conforms to another world. To put it bluntly, it is closer to the universe. After Jia Yan returned here, he found that the principles of the universe here are almost the same as those on the other side, so his yin-yang dao is also can be used here. At this moment, he used his yin and yang dao to create a force field with two opposing forces in front of his front foot, causing the wire mesh to be pushed away by the force of the explosion in an instant. What is this? The centipede god emperor was shocked by Jia Yan's sudden burst of power. He knew that Jia Yan must be more powerful than him in a normal state, but he didn't know that as an evolved beast, Jia Yan still had a lot of tricks up his sleeve. This is another kind of power. This Jia Yan has more backhands than I expected. He can run away and run away. Seeing Jia Yan's understatement, he summoned up all his strength, and all the silk nets he released were blown away. Finally, the centipede god emperor no longer dared to have the slightest intention of resisting Jia Yan, and he devoted himself to escaping. Although the silk net did not entangle Jia Yan, it still delayed him for a moment. So the distance between Jia Yan and the centipede emperor suddenly became farther. The way of yin and yang. Now that his yin and yang dao had been exposed, Jia Yan simply continued to use the energy of yin and yang dao. At the same time, in the starry sky, there was a sudden ripple-like fluctuation, which exploded from the surface of Jia Yan's body. It's that move. Here, a group of Jia Yan's subordinates were surprised when they saw Jia Yan actually using this move. This move was made by Jia Yan using his own divine organs as a medium to fuse a certain tremor method of the subspace. When he used it in the past, he was almost invincible and could control the enemy in an instant. It's just that the opponent now is the God Emperor, who is much stronger than the enemies Jia Yan has faced before. Is this ripple power still useful? In fact, it has an effect, but it's really not strong. Well, while the centipede God Emperor was running away, he suddenly felt his body tighten. His body was almost bound by this restraining force, making him unable to move. Fortunately, his strength was absolutely sufficient. After his body swayed, he immediately exploded with all his strength. Then his body actually increased speed again. As expected, I can't control it. Jia Yan, who was behind, looked at the centipede God Emperor who continued to run away, and felt slightly tangled in his heart. To him, the power of this ripple is no less than a killer weapon. But after the strength increased, the power level of this ripple gradually became a bit useless. This is not because the strength of the ripple itself is poor, but because Jia Yan's strength has improved too quickly. This combat skill has not been refined and improved by Jia Yan too much. Jia Yan actually improved it, so it naturally fell to the end of poor strength. We need to spend some time in the future to study and see if there is any way to improve the power of the ripples. But that's not what's happening now. Although the power of the ripples did not cause the centipede God Emperor to stop moving directly, it still greatly slowed down his movements. Buzz. As soon as Jia Yan moved and rushed towards the place where the centipede God Emperor was, a small world-like shadow suddenly appeared in the body of the centipede God Emperor. In this shadow, there are tall and magnificent buildings, as well as bustling crowds. There are also some incredibly powerful creatures. This is the divine kingdom of the centipede creature. Divine creatures possess the kingdom of God, and their functions are not much different from those of cosmic creatures. However, their control and practical abilities in combat are not very strong. They are mainly used to attract or bewitch other creatures. Everything in the kingdom of God is not necessarily fake, but it is almost the same. It is just something transformed by the brainwave power of the cultivator. Such is the nature of divine beings. At this moment, the centipede creature released the kingdom of God in order to resist Jia Yan's continued pursuit. Humph, are you going to use the kingdom of God on me? I'm quite confident. Jia Yan's brainwave power suddenly opened up. Although the divine kingdom was terrifying, it could not invade the surface of his body. At the same time, the power of the field in his body that had not been used for a long time also exploded. The best way to deal with control-type things is to fight with things of the same system. Jia Yan didn't do much research in the field, so under the circumstances, his field suffered a little loss. But this is not a small portrayal of the outcome of the war. The real situation is that Jia Yan quickly approached the centipede creature during the collision of the two phases. Jia Yan, if you have anything to say, we gods and your evolved beasts all have a common enemy. At this moment, the centipede creature quickly spoke to Jia Yan. Although he also knew that in a normal battle, unless the enemy was out of his mind, how could he believe such words of delaying time? Fortunately, Jia Yan was a little convinced this time. Oh, tell me, what common enemy will there be between me and your god? Our enemy is the strong man in the universe. I can see that the path you are taking, and even the path your subordinates are taking, are not from my system of the gods and the strong man in the universe. I don't know where you found this path. But as long as you learn other systems, you will definitely be squeezed out by the strong system of the universe. If we cooperate, wouldn't it? Before the centipede creature finished speaking, Jia Yan's front foot had already stabbed away. You. He was suddenly furious, but he didn't have any time to say anything, so he immediately resisted. Haha, you are right. My subordinates and I are no longer practicing the system you know. But is it useful for me to talk to you? You are just a god emperor at best. If I talk to you, there is no point at all. Effect. Jia Yan didn't bother with him anymore. Anyway, such a god emperor would no longer have any tempering or helpful effect on his future path. If he was released, he would definitely continue to cause trouble, so it was better to kill him directly. You have something to say, Jia Yan. In front of Jia Yan's azure-colored forefoot, the centipede-shaped god emperor's body, which was more than 10 kilometers long, was already riddled with scars. He is really strong, even if Jia Yan doesn't have much energy left. But it still lasted for a long time. It's a pity that no matter how strong he is, he can't be stronger than today's Jia Yan. No need to say more, just die. Jia Yan suddenly burst into a shocking brainwave of yin and yang dao again. Boom! The centipede god emperor, with a trace of despair in his eyes, followed in the footsteps of the previous god emperor. The body is torn apart, and it is difficult to find an intact part floating in the universe. This. The battle group that had been waiting for a long time on one side, several divine creatures, finally screamed in disbelief. The other two who were smarter were already flying quickly outside the battle circle. Where to escape? The members of Jia Yan's team were now so powerful that they immediately chased these ordinary gods regardless of their injuries. The opponent was fleeing in panic, but Jia Yan's arrogance was extremely exaggerated, so not long after, they all returned with gains. During this period, Jia Yan did not take action. Well, these few battles just now have helped me a lot. My newly promoted strength has been stabilized. After Jia Yan came to his senses silently, he saw a group of subordinates slowly approaching him. Your Majesty has extraordinary skills. Pleased to wish you the best in killing the God Emperor. We don't know yet, but your lord has actually reached the lower level of the star, and still has the ability to fight beyond the level. Congratulations, Lord, congratulations. Luo Longxi, Tian Niaolang, and other subordinates, all with strange expressions, came to Jia Yan, who was several times bigger than them, and kept humiliating him. Although they were in this state before, it is a little different now. Jia Yan's strength has taken a huge step forward, and even his body shape is different from before. They looked at Jia Yan as if they were looking at a stranger. Well, you did a good job, but the blood I gave you only temporarily suppressed your injuries. Please go back to the Aditya and rest. Also, we need to set off as soon as possible. I killed the God Emperor this time. This is definitely shocking news in the realm of the gods. I don't know whether a God Emperor will appear in the future. It will be safer to leave early. Jia Yan's words made a group of subordinates shrink their necks in shock. What Jia Yan said is very possible, because the God Emperor has been killed. In the great realm of gods, existences of this level already belong to a big boss. There will be more or less the shadow of the God Emperor behind them, and they will die in one breath. If there are two of them, will the God Emperor not show up? Jia Yan looked straight. He felt that the broken body he had separated did not kill the last God Emperor, and he couldn't help feeling a little helpless. If the God Emperor was so easy to kill, he wouldn't have spent so much time killing the centipede creature just now. Of course, a few months ago, he was unable to even look into the eyes of the God Emperor, but now he was able to kill two of them. This was already an absolutely shocking breakthrough, so there was no need to underestimate himself. My strength has not been fully digested yet. When I finish digesting it. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1540. There are many gods in the great domain of gods. Because the requirements for talent are not as high as those in the outside world, there are always a lot of gods born in the star domain. But at the level of the God Emperor, it is not something that can be counted simply by counting. The God Emperor is a high-level existence of stars in the outside world. Their strength is only one step away from reaching the galaxy level, which is the absolute control level in the Milky Way. Therefore, in terms of strength, they can easily control several huge star systems. But this time, 2 divine emperors actually died in this star field, even without a burial place. This was a big blow to the divine system. In the realm of gods, those who reach the level of gods will not easily start a war. Those who reach the level of God Emperor are like treasures, and there are almost no unnatural deaths. But this time, Jia Yan, an outsider, actually killed 2 divine emperors in the divine realm in one breath, and another one was seriously injured and fled. This was like dropping a bomb in a pool of originally calm stagnant water. Catch, must catch, this Jia Yan is simply too arrogant. Coming to my divine realm is already a capital crime, but he dares to cause massacres in my divine realm. The most terrifying thing is that he actually kills our God Emperor. This has a huge impact. I can't do it without killing him. What's more, he already has a life and death relationship with our spiritual system. If we let him continue to grow like this, he will definitely become a big problem in the future. Yes, the news about the evolved beast happened many years ago. Although the historical records cannot be verified, as long as there is a slight possibility that he will go further in the future, it will be enough to become a dangerous existence in our spiritual realm. This kind of possibilities, we want to kill. In the divine realm, there is a huge organization similar to an external alliance. In fact, this is an organization where the masters of the divine realm gather together and unite. They are the entities that truly control the entire divine realm. I think it's time for Jia Yan and our divine realm to completely break up with each other. Should we send an envoy over first to communicate with him? It's too late to talk about communication now. You must know that those are 2 God Emperors. For our great God realm in a severe situation, what does the God Emperor mean? Everyone present should be very clear. Since they killed the 2 of us God Emperor, we should respond fiercely, otherwise those guys from the outside world will really think that our divine realm is easy to bully. In the center of the great realm of the gods, there is a huge galaxy that seems to be harmonious and harmonious. This galaxy is the true paradise that most people in the entire realm of gods want to go to. Everyone wants to enter this realm, because the creatures here are not only beautiful, but also the status of every resident is extremely high. However, the greatest role of this galaxy is to become the center of the entire divine star territory. There are 2 God Emperors sitting here all year round. In addition, there are also several God Emperors sitting in several areas of the divine spirit domain. For general matters, this group, the God Emperors, will all communicate over long distances through the central galaxy's communication method. The amount of energy required for one communication can be described as astronomical. Even this group of God Emperors would not engage in such communication unless there was something important on weekdays. But they actually used this kind of communication for the death of the 2 God Emperors. In fact, there is nothing unexpected about this. In normal times, the death of a God Emperor would be almost earth-shattering. What's more, these 2 God Emperors were killed by outsiders in their own homes. So a group of God Emperors were all connected to one place remotely through contact information. If we talk about communicating with that evolved beast, I guess it will be difficult. According to our understanding of this race, they don't seem to pursue communication. They just use their strength to speak. But if you don't communicate with him, how do you know whether this evolved beast is the same as his ancestor? After all, tens of thousands of years have passed. You are right. The so-called evolved beasts are just rumors from the outside world. It is hard to say whether our definition of evolved beasts is correct. It would be a bit arbitrary for you to just assume that he is an evolved beast. Okay, since you all have objections, let's talk about how we should respond. This. In the virtual hall where several God Emperors were, there was a behemoth that almost occupied the entire planet. After much deliberation, the creature closed contact. A bunch of old guys, they haven't tasted war for hundreds of years and they have no courage. This behemoth was obviously extremely unhappy with the talent's contact. He was dissatisfied with 2 things. The first point is that two divine emperors in their spiritual realm were killed by others, and those old immortals actually said they would communicate with the murderers again. The second point is that they are still hesitant, saying that they should be careful about the evolved beast clan. Communicate with him. Do you still need to be careful about the evolved beast clan? How do they know that Jia Yan is a strong man with subspace talent, and if he accidentally misses it, he will escape? Or even if they knew it, they did it deliberately, hoping to turn a blind eye and let him escape. This behemoth monster has a hideous face and a terrifying shape. Suddenly, his eyes widened. No, just letting an outsider leave like this is not in the interest of my great spirit realm. If others think that they can just come and cause trouble in my great spirit realm and still walk away, wouldn't it be over? He finally seemed to have made a decision. If a God Emperor level powerhouse wants to move in person, even if it is a moving problem for them, various problems will be involved behind it, so he cannot leave. But even if you can't move easily, you can send out some subordinates. Even if he can kill an ordinary God Emperor, he may not be able to win against a dedicated fighting God Emperor who has almost entered the realm of the God Emperor, right? The eyes of this God Emperor monster flashed with brilliance, and then he sent certain news to the outside world through his unique communication method. Huh? Your Majesty called me. So it turns out that there is an outsider who wants me to join the other two team members to go there together. What kind of existence actually wants us, the three great God Emperors, to exist at the critical point and do it together? The creature that received the message was also a rather large being. The news he received was like causing an earthquake, which shocked many forces in the central galaxy. Finally, three superpowers who had sorted out their affairs appeared. These are three terrifying behemoths that are no longer under 20 kilometers in size. Their size is no different from some God Emperor level or galaxy level beings. His strength has reached the most critical point that the God Emperor can reach, and he may be able to break through at some point. But they are still at the level of God Emperor. After all, it is said that they are just a little short of it, but the creatures that can really cross this step can be said to be only 1 in 10. Among the three creatures, one of them will finally be able to jump over this threshold and achieve success in the entire spirit realm. The most pinnacle existence is what makes them happy. However, the fact is that none of the three of them may be able to cross this threshold in the future. You want the three of us to go over and intercept Jia Yan. Haha, what about the evolved beast? During this time, it seems that the matter about this evolved beast has become a commotion. Even His Majesty the God Emperor has been disturbed. This Jia Yan deserves to die. Don't be too careless, you two. Did you see that this so-called evolved beast is definitely not such a simple creature? His improvement is too fast. The expressions of the three great God Emperors were all cold. Even though they have read Jia Yan's information, they are confident in their own strength. After all, as the top God Emperor level beings in the divine realm, they are confident that even if they face the most powerful low-level star-level cosmic creatures in the outside world, they are all capable of fighting, so why would anyone show panic expression because of Jia Yan's qualifications? Ha, in 3 months, we have gone from being an intermediate level to the current early stage of the late level. This promotion speed is indeed beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. It took us countless years to reach this level. But the shortcomings are definitely big. This evolved beast has made such rapid progress, so its strength will definitely not be able to keep up. According to me, he was able to kill the two God Emperors, probably because he took advantage of the fact that the other party was not too vigilant. Okay, let's go, but don't make the mistake of being contemptuous this time. Since the God Emperor sent us to take action, it proves that this evolved beast cannot be underestimated. Clear. Three creatures that far surpassed the average God Emperor, headed towards a certain direction in the starry sky, and went hand in hand. The changes within the divine realm were even felt by the cosmic civilization forces confronting them on the edge of the divine realm. Huh? There seems to be some movement in the great realm of gods recently. They have been cowering away and not daring to move these days. If you don't dare to move, don't dare to move. How dare we, a small civilization, take advantage of the situation to launch an attack? It's just a joke. Such words came from a civilization bordering the borderland of the divine realm. Not only them, but also many advanced civilizations or controllers of the star domain have noticed that the realm of gods has become much more peaceful in recent times. Although the divine realm had always been on the defensive side before, the land bordering it was too large, and battles were taking place all the time, but the scale of such battles was not large. But this time it was a little weird. The gods actually didn't make much movement for several days. Is it possible that there are some variables that have arisen in the great realm of the gods? Some commanders are even looking forward to seeing if there are changes in the realm of the gods, so that they might be able to achieve unparalleled feats. Unfortunately, there were two civilized fleets that wanted to break through the border of the divine realm, but they suffered a brutal head-on attack. This shows that although the great spirit realm is shrinking in defense, it is not without combat capability. As a result, people from other civilizations are even more confused. And the initiator of all this, no one knows, is within the realm of the gods. And it is an existence that not only causes headaches in the realm of gods, but also in the biological forces of the universe. There are many creatures that do not have good senses for it. The evolved beast, also known as the starry sky beast, Jia-Yan. Jia-Yan is completely unaware of the changes in the outside world caused by him. They are still leaving the realm of the gods in their original steps. I won't be able to enter the Edessa, but my current flight speed in subspace won't be much slower. Just move forward, and I will follow you. Master, you can't hum me. I'm so sad. Outside the Edessa, the little mosquitoes transformed by light and shadow were almost crying. Jia-Yan's body has more than doubled in size. How could the originally crowded Edessa accommodate him? So he no longer comes on board. Sir, Edessa once told us that he can no longer perform super ejection at all. If we just walk on the shallow level like this, people from the divine realm will definitely be able to find us as long as they are careful. You see. Don't worry, as long as the God Emperor doesn't come out, you don't have to be afraid. Faced with the anxious remarks of his subordinates, Jia-Yan also spoke out. If the God Emperor doesn't come out, we don't have to be afraid. Several subordinates were horrified, and because the meaning of Jia-Yan's words couldn't be clearer. That is, he now considers himself to be the strongest person under the God Emperor. After receiving his words of comfort, the subordinates of the team returned to the interior of the Aditya with both peace of mind and emotion. Jia-Yan, on the other hand, silently followed the Edessa as it took off. In fact, what he just said was somewhat reserved. As long as you give me a little time, let alone the existence of the God Emperor, even the God Emperor, I may not dare to fight. Jia-Yan said this in his heart. Of course, he wouldn't say this now. After all, evolved beasts said that he could fight across levels, but that was only in desperate situations, and the enemy was a relatively weak galaxy level. Only then is it possible to achieve the terrifying deeds of fighting the galaxy at the lower level of the peak star. The current Jia-Yan has not reached the peak of the lower level of stars, and his enemy may not be the weakest star river, so what he said is just a joke. But as long as he has such a concept in his heart. Of course, he also knew that to truly reach this level, a lot of luck was needed, but before that, what he needed was time. As long as he is given some time to stabilize his post-breakthrough strength, and then superimpose the yin and yang Dao he learned in another world with his own new strength, his strength will explode again. By then, even if you can't defeat the God Emperor, with the last space talent, it shouldn't be a big problem if you want to escape, right? In the twisted space, two huge figures 10 kilometers above the ground swayed quickly through it. The 20-kilometer level Edisha is in front, and Jia Yan's 10-kilometer long, but even more imposing biological body is behind. The two went in tandem, heading towards the predetermined direction, and continued their journey away from the great realm of the gods. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1541. Traveling all the way has become a normal thing for the small team of creatures on Jia Yan's side. Since their formation, except for the time on the Divine Star, they have all spent their time in a similar process of fighting and fleeing. Although Jia Yan's disappearance this time caused a minor crisis for the team, fortunately with his return, the team regained its combat effectiveness. My lord has become so big all of a sudden. I'm really not used to it. Looking at Jia Yan flying on the edge of the Edissa and the female god sitting upright inside the Edissa, Luo Longxi sighed slightly. When I first met Jia Yan, he seemed to have only reached stellar level strength. But now, he actually broke through many levels of strength in front of her in one breath, and reached the level of God Emperor, which was not even the level of God Emperor. Of course, she said this level because she was used to calling it that. If it were called by the outside world, it would be the galaxy level, which was a completely new level of strength that was completely different from the star level. The God Emperor, as the name suggests, is the emperor among the gods. Except for the two existences in the divine realm that are equivalent to the level of external domain lords, he is almost invincible. In fact, the two territory lord level beings in the divine realm are only god emperors, and the territory lords in the outside world are also only galaxy level beings. It's just that the domain lord's strength is completely different from that of ordinary galaxy level masters, so someone separated this group of people and called them territory lord level beings. Haha, if you don't have this change, sir, we will be in danger this time. Those are the three god emperors, equivalent to high-level star-level existences in the outside world. They are completely different from ordinary star-level mid-level ones like us. Another new level. In front of them, a group of us can't deal with even one of them, let alone Master Jia Yan, who killed 3 of them in one go. On Relancy's side, the scorpion-like female god seemed to be getting into a fight with Relancy's words. After all, if Jia Yan didn't have this change, then many people would really die in this war. Fortunately, Jia Yan showed up in time, otherwise no one would know how many of their team would have died. Are you very interested in my strength? Suddenly, Jia Yan's words came to the ears of Luo Longxi and others. Don't dare. Several subordinates quickly said something to Jia Yan. Although they must be a little curious as to why Jia Yan's strength improved so quickly, a person who was being hunted had actually broken through the original level after staying in the subspace for several months without knowing whether he was alive or dead. They didn't believe what was said in novels. The protagonist went to a cave-like place to practice hard, and he cultivated to a point that others could not reach. Jia Yan must have other opportunities. But they didn't dare ask. It's okay for you to know. I was just sent to another place in a twisted space. Huh? There's another place. There's actually another place in this subspace. What's going on? Several subordinates were extremely shocked when they heard that Jia Yan revealed his secret so easily. Jia Yan had no intention of hiding it, because he estimated that even if the secrets of that world were spread, it would be unlikely for anyone else to pass by except him. Even if someone can really get over it, so what? The dangers in that world were enough to allow most creatures in the past to narrowly escape death. So he didn't mind saying it. That's right, you can't tell anyone about the things about this world. Anyway, I got some opportunities there and reached a new level of strength, so I came back. Sir, the liquids we used earlier were also. Yes, it is also the blood of a powerful race in that world. Hearing Jia Yan's answer, a group of creatures were stunned. What kind of creature is this? It's just blood. It can make a group of creatures like us quickly recover from injuries and strength. I'm afraid the strength level is not low. Luo Longxi and others were not unwilling to believe it, but they couldn't believe it, because they really couldn't imagine that any creature could make a group of creatures like them that had reached the star level with just their own blood. The speed of repair was beyond their imagination. Oh, this kind of creature is indeed powerful. Every ordinary individual's strength will not be lower than the strength of the God Emperor or the galaxy. There are even stronger beings who don't know how powerful they are. Ordinary individuals have the strength of a galaxy-level being. This Luo Longxi and other subordinates were even more incomprehensible. In their impression, the most powerful creatures in this universe only reach the galaxy level. It is said that there are more terrifying existences in the center of the galaxy, but this is just a legend. No one has verified this news for a long time. Therefore, in their opinion, the galaxy level is the end of cultivation. But now Jia Yan actually told them that in some place ordinary individuals actually have galaxy level strength, and there are even biological individuals that exceed galaxy level. This is simply beyond their imagination. Then, sir, do you also belong to a powerful level in that world? In other words, is talent considered good? Tianyi Alang, who had been silent for a long time, asked what everyone wanted to ask at this moment. Yes, these creatures all want to know what Jia Yan's position is over there. They believe that a heaven-defying creature like Jia Yan will definitely not be a weakling on the other side. Even if it is not much stronger than a few of them, there are galaxy-level beings among ordinary individuals. I guess there aren't many, right? In fact, they felt a little fear because they suddenly heard about a world that was far beyond their imagination, so they wanted to use another strong person they were familiar with to confirm that this unknown place was not what they knew. It's so mysterious. But the answer Jia Yan gave made them even more shocked and desperate. Because Jia Yan answered like this. Am I powerful over there? Oh, let me tell you, I'm not much different from a bug over there. As far as talent is concerned, it's pretty good. Hiss. A group of Jia Yan team members could not help but gasp in shock at this moment. They thought Jia Yan would be quite powerful in that so-called place, but now it sounds like he is actually a bug. This shocked them and gave them a sense of awe at the vastness of the universe. The universe is too big. Although Jia Yan didn't know how, when he arrived in that world, he encountered existences that they might not have imagined in their entire lives. This made their eyes suddenly shift from the Milky Way to a wider world. In the universe. Of course, they have no extravagant expectations that they can escape the prison of the Milky Way in this life. After all, the stars are too big. What if powerful creatures reach the stars? So what if it's 10 times more powerful than the galaxy level? Although that is a strength that they cannot imagine, it is probably still not enough to see this vast universe. Okay, you don't have to think too much about that world. I'm just saying it and want to ask you something. That is, after I went there this time, I learned another thing from them. That is the upgraded version of the yin-yang system, and perhaps the final version of my self-created system. His name is Yin-Yang Dao. Do you want to improve your strength? If you do, you must now follow the new method I taught and give up a little. If you have the strength of the yin and yang system that you have cultivated before, if you transfer to my yin and yang Dao, you will only be weak for a few days. If you are willing, I will teach you. The introduction of Jia Yan's words has always been to prepare to talk about the yin and yang Dao. For him, learning from his subordinates of the yin and yang system has always been a better experimental method for him, and the yin and yang Dao has just been established. Although there is nothing unusual in his own cultivation, if he wants a more comprehensive to understand, more samples are needed, and maybe he can find flaws that he didn't find. Sir, I am willing to transfer to Onmyato. I would like that too. Although a group of subordinates don't know what the difference is between the yin and yang Dao that Jia Yan is talking about now and the yin and yang system they have learned before, but since Jia Yan has said it, this is an upgraded version of the yin and yang system, and it is a must-have system. As a reward from that world, I definitely learned it right. As for a few days of weakness, do they care? For the long survival period of stellar-level creatures, a few days simply pass by in the blink of an eye. Very well, in that case, I will teach you. Jia Yan was flying slowly in the gentle first-level space beside the Aditya. During this period, he taught the Tao he had learned in that powerful world, which was the Yin and Yang Tao that he finally summarized. The group of subordinates were fascinated by Jia Yan's teachings. The Yin and Yang system that you taught us before was already a bit advanced, but compared with this Yin and Yang Dao, it is actually simple. If we hadn't already learned the Yin and Yang system and practiced it to such an advanced level, we might not even be able to get started. You can't even get started. This requirement is simply terrifying. If you want to directly use this Yin and Yang Dao as the basis in the future, there will probably be fewer creatures in this system to learn from. Although no one in the group of subordinates said that they did not understand Yin and Yang, this is because they already have a great understanding of the Yin and Yang system. Otherwise, they would probably be stuck in learning Yin and Yang from the very beginning. And just like this, they are still because they are star-level experts and their talents are pretty good. Otherwise, it is absolutely impossible to comprehend so quickly. After Jia Yan taught several subordinates, he asked them some questions and fell into deep thought. After all, this group of subordinates are all creatures with good strength and have seen more, especially several divine beings. Their knowledge is much better than that of the star-level creatures on the other side. This made some of the questions they raised seem to hit the nail on the head for Jia Yan, quickly causing him to think deeply and then make revisions. Your suggestions are very good and have inspired me a lot. Let's take a few days to understand and then remove most of the impurities from your Yin and Yang system. I will take advantage of these few days to restore the Yin and Yang Dao. Once you go through it, you will be able to get started in the future. Don't worry, the benefits of this Yin Yang Dao will only be several times more powerful than the Yin Yang system. It can even make your future not just at the star level. Jia Yan encouraged his subordinates. Okay, thank you for your guidance, sir. Needless to say, Jia Yan actually said that after Jia Yan taught these subordinates the path of Yin and Yang Dao, a group of subordinates already regarded Jia Yan's new path as a treasure. To be honest, the Yin Yang system created by Jia Yan had great potential, but after all, there was no systematic organization and no previous experience. He just let a group of subordinates practice. This is still this group of subordinates. They were completely devoted to Jia Yan, and they themselves were star-level beings, so there were no problems with their cultivation. But many times, without the most basic theoretical support, they can only walk on thin ice when practicing. They have almost suffered casualties several times, so they are a little scared. But now, Jia Yan has sorted out the Tao system that has been developed for who knows how many years in that world, and then developed a new version of Yin and Yang Tao, which has many more cornerstones and more theoretical support for practice. There is definitely a lot of confidence and security. What's more, the revised Yin and Yang Dao contains some great principles, which are somewhat related to the origin of the universe. So how can these subordinates get the treasure? Sir, in this case, your Yin and Yang Dao will definitely be ranked alongside the system of the powerful in the universe and the system of gods in this galaxy. No. It should be said that as long as strong people emerge in large numbers, they may be able to overwhelm them. It's not a difficult thing. That's right, Lord Jia Yan. At first glance, this Yin and Yang system is much stronger than the divine system. We are actually among the first to learn such a terrible system. We will definitely work hard to live up to Lord Jia Yan's high expectations for us. A group of subordinates were extremely happy. After all, they were Jia Yan's first experimental field. Although no one would say this, they were willing to do so. The experimental field represents greater opportunities. After all, after a system stabilizes, many relatively radical approaches will be abandoned. That is for the good of the entire system, but it also makes the system rigid and there are not many opportunities. And they are now in the beginning of the system, and many of Jia Yan's ideas and methods are displayed in this system. What's even more rare is that the current yin and yang Dao is supported by a more stable system, so there will be no major accidents during practice. This is definitely a benefit for the first batch of people to learn. Outweighs the disadvantages. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1542. Well, you guys practice well and I'll think about some more questions. Jia Yan saw that none of his subordinates had any complaints about being his own experimental field, and he couldn't help but nodded with satisfaction. Their reaction was also normal for Jia Yan. If someone had presented such a potential system cultivation method to him when he was weak before, he would definitely agree to become his subordinate without hesitation. After all, if you have been in the universe for a long time, you will know how difficult it is to become stronger, and this group of subordinates have been in the universe longer than Jia Yan, so they know even more how precious opportunities are. In the subspace, a group of creatures, together with Jia Yan, soared quickly into the darkness. No one knows whether their strength will have undergone any earth-shaking changes when they meet again. Subspace, in the technology on Earth, is something that has not been discovered or even verified. However, in the eyes of cosmic technology and powerful people, this kind of thing is already a certain existence. Even if it definitely exists, using it requires extremely advanced technology or the talent of a strong person, and this is something that is not easy to do, at least in today's galaxy. Therefore, sailing in the subspace has become synonymous with high technology, or creatures that can come and go freely in the subspace have become powerful talents. Nowadays, there is a technological spaceship and a behemoth flying in the universe. They are Jia Yan and a group of subordinates on the Edisha. Is there a flaw in Onmyato? After chatting with several gods and star-level subordinates, Jia Yan finally understood that his yin and yang Dao was not without its shortcomings, so he was thinking about how to repair these shortcomings. In fact, Jia Yan already has the rough draft, he is just thinking about how to implement it. Yin-Yang Dao was born out of his yin-yang system, and the yin-yang system generally emerged because of Jia Yan's unique physical characteristics. My yin and yang Tao is synonymous with positive and negative negative forces are called yin and yang. Everything has yin and yang. Even in a universe of positive matter, negative matter occasionally appears. And my yin-yang Dao is the power created by inheriting the Tao of that world and adding my own understanding of positive and negative energy. In this way, my yin-yang Dao should be like the great Dao. Comparatively it's perfect, but now that several subordinates have pointed out a few places, I feel that they are right, and there are loopholes in my own thinking. Jia Yan has been thinking about it, even though he must know in his heart that the road system he created will not be easy to succeed. But in fact, Jia Yan feels that it is impossible to research a perfect road so simply. Of course, truly perfect things cannot exist, even in that world. All of our ideas and systems are generally striving to be close to perfection, but it is precisely because of imperfection that they can exist. Because true perfection is absolutely impossible to exist in this universe. But all I want is perfection in a certain sense. Jia Yan thought lightly. His system standards have been given to several subordinates. They started to convert to yin and yang Dao according to the current system method. Because it is something connected with the yin and yang system, Jia Yan himself was able to convert in an instant, and at most they could not, it just takes a few days. Jia Yan's next changes were changes in details, so they had no impact on their current foundation, so they could make learning breakthroughs with confidence. Bang bang bang. In the Edissa, due to the air system, a group of subordinates exploded with strength, and the sounds of breakthroughs continued. They had just completely weakened the strength of the newly generated yin-yang system, and then converted to the yin-yang Dao system. As a result, the power of the new system continued to make breakthroughs. From the initial Earth level, all the way up to breakthrough, this feeling is an enjoyable process for anyone who changes cultivation. Haha, I haven't experienced the feeling of breakthrough for a long time, and now I feel so comfortable enjoying it. Tian Nialang had just broken through his yin and yang Dao to the level of heaven. Although this strength was almost insignificant compared to another system of his star level, the pleasure of the breakthrough still made him feel deeply infatuated. After he stopped, he looked around. Jia Yan's subordinates, whether they were from the divine system or the star system, were slowly practicing and making breakthroughs. He couldn't help but sigh. It probably won't be long before their yin and yang Dao system reaches the current stellar level. They will have two major systems with the same strength. If they are used both, their combat effectiveness will probably surprise everyone. But in the later stage, when this yin and yang Dao system surpasses another system, we will face a new problem at that time, that is, whether we choose to erase the yin and yang Dao, or erase our original system and become the existence of complete yin and yang. Tiani Alang knows that everyone will probably make the same choice by then, because they have all chosen yin and yang Dao, and they also know that only yin and yang Dao can help them advance faster, even if they have to spend a period of time practicing yin yang Dao. Let yin yang Dao catch up with the time of another system. Master Jia Yan, are you an evolved beast? You are indeed an extremely powerful person. Perhaps following this master is not the wrong choice we made. Tian Nialang looked out the window and saw Jia Yan's huge giant mosquito body existing silently outside the Edisha. Jia Yan was indeed outside the Edisha, but he did not observe that this subordinate was looking at him. In other words, even if he knew, he would not waste too much energy imagining it. After all, the loyalty of his subordinates has been understood by Jia Yan. This is why, despite his current strength, Jia Yan can easily leave the realm of gods quickly in the deep subspace, but he does not do so. Well, my strength has been slowly improving. As long as I get through the initial period of rapid promotion, my strength will reach the peak state after I was just promoted to the lower level of the star. Then I want to improve again. It's not that easy. Jia Yan practiced silently. The cultivation method he uses now is completely yin-yang Dao. For him, there is no transition period. Even now, he has almost practiced yin-yang Dao to the level of a star. As for his cosmic powerhouse level, after reaching the lower level of the star, Jia Yan felt that it was difficult to say that his strength could reach the galaxy level for the time being. So he is considering whether to fully improve the strength of yin and yang Dao first. If the strength of yin and yang Dao reaches the stellar level, because of his extremely special physique, then the yin and yang Dao strength that has reached the primary level of a star will probably be reached. He has the same level of strength as the current star level cosmic powerhouse. One strength is the late star level, and it is the unique strength of the evolved beast to cross level and fight the late star level. What if the two are added together? Thinking about it, Jia Yan felt a burst of excitement. If he could really achieve it, he estimated that even if he had not really reached the peak of the stellar level, he would probably have certain fighting skills against a galaxy level being. Of course, he has only seen a few galaxy level ones, and none of them have done it himself, so he has no idea about the strength of the galaxy level, or the God Emperor level in this great realm of gods. In short, I am right to think so. My strength as a cosmic powerhouse may slowly be converted into the strength of yin and yang Dao in the future. Wouldn't it be more beautiful if I majored in yin and yang Dao and let yin and yang Dao break through the galaxy level? Jia Yan knows that his system is destined to have only one system left in the future. Like his subordinates, he will also face the doubt of whether to retain the yin and yang Dao or the strong system of the universe in the future. However, for Jia Yan, this kind of the doubt was never there in the first place. It is absolute for him to retain the yin and yang Dao, so after he has thought clearly, What he needs to do now is to stabilize the system of the strong men in the universe that he has just broken through, and then it will be time for him to break through the yin and yang Dao with all his strength. Don't think this is a waste of time. After all, the yin and yang Dao is very suitable for him. As long as the system of strong men in the universe stabilizes, maybe the speed at which the yin and yang system will catch up in the future will not be faster than his gradual promotion to the strong system of the universe. How much slower? Okay, since the system of strong men in the universe is about to be stabilized, then it is time for me to advance to yin and yang Dao. Just as Jia Yan made this decision, his eyes suddenly froze. The area they were in was already unknown how far away from the cosmic space after the last battle. And because of the speed of subspace, even if they are in a relatively shallow subspace, their speed is definitely not something that ordinary means can catch up with. Jia Yan was originally relatively assured of the speed of their group, but at this time, he was still suddenly frozen. Looking to the outside world. Because in the outside space, 3 fast-flying figures attracted his attention. Are the 3 of them, God Emperor level beings? Jia Yan silently looked at the flying figure from the outside world. Although he was relatively solemn, he was not too vigilant. These 3 guys don't look like ordinary God Emperors. However, I have now deployed my power in the subspace and tried to hide our fluctuations. Unless some of them are proficient in subspace talents, they should be probers. It's better not to be where we are. Jia Yan's statement is correct. He followed the Edissa all the way because he had the ability to use a hidden method of subspace fluctuation. In fact, it is very simple to say, that is, to combine the Edissa and his own. The flight fluctuations were quickly erased in this space. Although fluctuations are inevitable, it is difficult to detect for creatures who are not proficient in subspace, or even precision instruments. Maybe they didn't come here because of us. I hope they were just passing by. Jia Yan looked at the shadows of these 3 creatures silently, without any thought of provoking each other. In this great realm of gods, Jia Yan has quickly learned how many powerful creatures there are. Even if they don't go out and just move around in the subspace, from time to time, similar divine emperors or divine kings will appear. Jia Yan and others in this space will be shocked when they see them for the first time. Or shock. But after doing it a few times, I got used to it. This great domain of gods can always resist such a terrifying cosmic powerhouse system, which shows that they are still very powerful, especially the density of powerhouses, which is almost many times that of the outside cosmic powerhouse system. Jia Yan knows that the divine realm is very small compared to the outside world's cosmic powerhouse system. It may be able to resist the outside world's cosmic powerhouse system. In addition to the fact that they also take advantage of the disunity of the outside world's cosmic powerhouse system, the more reason is that the original strength is enough, otherwise he would have perished long ago when surrounded by the strong system of the universe. It's best for these 3 divine emperors to be passing by, otherwise. Jia Yan looked at the 3 figures approaching quickly in silence. But for his ideas, seems to have quickly become a bust. Because these 3 figures did not stay away from the subspace where they were, but came quickly. Snored. Jia Yan knew that this was definitely not a coincidence. After all, the universe was so big. He had clearly seen these 3 guys heading in another direction from a distance, but now they actually took a detour and headed directly towards where they were. They were flying over. They must have used some method to know their whereabouts and come directly. Grown-ups. When he felt that these 3 guys must have come with bad intentions, the subordinates of Jia Yan's team in the Edisha also woke up from their cultivation. Don't worry, it's just the 3 god emperors. Even if they are the 3 top god emperors, each one is several times more powerful than the one who came last time. But for me now, as long as the one who comes is not the god emperor himself, you don't have to be afraid. It took a few days to slowly digest more than half of his revealed strength. For Jia Yan today, even if he has not reached the level of the galaxy level, he is definitely the strength of a top-notch being in the lower tier of stars. Of course, well, in terms of energy in the system, he is still a newly promoted being. But he is an evolved beast, and the strength of an evolved beast cannot be felt with superficial senses, so his strength is definitely not measurable. And he has a lot of tricks, so even if the three top god emperors come, there is nothing to fear. You don't have to come out. I'll go meet them. The Edessa sinks as deep as possible, even if it damages the hull a little, it doesn't matter. Jia Yan ordered. I heard a somewhat sad response from Edessa, because the Edessa was already on the verge of collapse, and no one knew whether it could still fly out after sinking into the depths this time. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1543. Even if Edessa is unwilling, the enemy shadow has appeared, and there is nothing she can do no matter how unwilling she is. It began to control the huge hull of the Edessa and flew deep into subspace. Master, if I am no longer here in the future, you must take good care of yourself. Edessa was inside the Edessa, murmuring something. He has been with Jia Yan since a few years ago, inheriting the experience and knowledge of the previous Edessa brain, and has been with Jia Yan for a long time. It saw with its own eyes that this master had grown from an extremely weak level to a power that was now so huge that it could not contain it. To be honest, it knew before that it and the Edessa it controlled, or rather its body, would have no effect on the owner who could no longer fit in it, and would be eliminated. Although I haven't seen my master become a galaxy, nor have I fulfilled the old master's dream, once the evolved beast reaches the lower level of the star, or reaches the peak of the star, it will not be much different from a star level, so, my mission has been completed, I saw the new master's achievements in the galaxy, and my role is no longer there, so it's time for me to disappear. The Edessa and the Edessa sank into the deep subspace with a trace of emotion, and then the pieces of distortion made the huge spaceship and its broken body even more distorted and swaying. Huh? The Edessa is out of service. Jia Yan was about to fly out of this space, but his expression was shocked and he looked back at the sad figure. He has always believed that the Edessa was a big support for him, and he never felt that this ship, which he thought was an extremely powerful escape tool some time ago, would be a fragile thing. But now it seems that the Edessa is not as powerful as I thought. It's about to collapse. But it's okay. Even if something goes wrong with it later, I will drag it to the outside world, and then return to Kama's place to build a new body for it. After thinking this, Jia Yan no longer cared about the disappearing figure behind him, and then rushed out of the subspace. Appeared. Haha, this Jia Yan actually dares to come out. He is so bold. I guess he, like those star-level beings in the outside world, thinks that the God Emperor of our divine system will be weaker than them. Unfortunately, the three of us are different. The three God Emperors cautiously stepped back a few kilometers at the same moment when the subspace was distorted. This is to prevent Jia Yan's extremely spooky subspace sneak attack ability. After all, after they have mastered Jia Yan's past combat data, they will have one of Jia Yan's strongest skills and a great means of self-protection. There are many got it. As long as they are careful, they are not afraid of such sneak attacks. Besides, these God Emperors have prepared many means and are not afraid of Jia Yan's sneak attack. Guys, tell me directly what your purpose is. Oh? Jia Yan, I thought you would give up to us for a while, but I didn't expect you to be so straightforward. Do you know that we just followed your trail? Yes, I know. Jia Yan looked at the three God Emperors in front of him indifferently. These three God Emperors have all reached the peak level of God Emperors, which are very powerful. Perhaps their strength is not weaker than the peak masters of the lower level stars in the outside world, so now he is looking at Jia Yan. They have no scruples at all, thinking that Jia Yan will definitely not be the opponent of their three top masters. Okay, we won't pretend to you, Jia Yan. You are an outsider from the outside world, and some time ago, in our star field, we killed 3 ordinary god emperors in our god domain. When the emperor heard about this, he was extremely angry, so he sent us here to either capture you or kill you. Now that you have appeared, it is up to you to decide what we are going to do. Are you prepared to be killed by us, or are you prepared to follow us obediently? The 3 top god emperors also had indifferent expressions. Although Jia Yan did not show that fear, they also knew that the strength of their 3 god emperors had appeared in the universe without any reservation. This outsider came, since he has been blocked here by them, he should be able to feel the strength of their 3 great god emperors, and he probably does not dare to take action. Oh! 2 choices, no other options. Jia Yan snorted coldly, then shook his head. Are there any other options? Jia Yan, do you think there are other options? In other words, you want us to leave like this? Are you planning to bribe us? Don't think so. We are not like this. What's more, as long as we kill you, your treasures and so on will not be ours. One of the 3 god emperors, who looked like a wolf-like creature, sneered, and his laughter was full of shame. For them, there is absolutely no option for Jia Yan to choose to fight. After all, they themselves are the best able to know the extent of the strength of their 3 divine emperors. Moreover, the 3 of them are gods and possess extremely terrifying powers. If the gods' combined combat skills were used, they believed that almost no one in the galaxy would be able to withstand a few moves under their hands. This is true even for the geniuses of the terrible race in the center of the galaxy. And Jia Yan? Although the evolved beasts are extremely terrifying, they even believe that if Jia Yan becomes stronger, he might be able to occupy a share of geniuses among the races in the center of the galaxy. But what? He is just a low-level star who has just been promoted to the ultimate level, so his strength cannot pose any threat to the 3 god emperor level experts. The 3 god emperors have even made plans not to deal with Jia Yan alone. If Jia Yan wants to take action, the 3 god emperors will do it together. After all, the 3 god emperors still have a certain regard for evolved beasts. Knowing this kind of talent exists, and given a little chance, it is possible to turn defeat into victory, so if you really want to fight, you must go all out. Under such vigilance, they did not believe that this evolved beast would choose the option of fighting. But to their surprise, Jia Yan still shook his head. 3 of you, I don't want to choose any of the options you gave me. Well, I'll give you one option too, that is, leave or die here. Which one do you 3 think you will choose? After Jia Yan said such words, the 3 great god emperors became furious. Jia Yan, you are so shameless. Our 3 divine emperors came here under the order of the divine emperor. How dare you disobey the order and think that none of us 3 divine emperors can defeat you? You have to know that we are the god emperor sits down as a general, and he is not the same entity as the 3 ordinary god emperors you fought hard to defeat before. I know, that's why I said, respect your choice. If you guys are willing to leave now, I'm not willing to waste my strength fighting you. Jia Yan shook his head and seemed to speak very calmly. It's just arrogant. It seems that a peaceful conversation with you will have no effect. Since you choose to die here, the 3 of us will help you. The 3 god emperors saw that Jia Yan didn't even think that he would lose. They thought that Jia Yan absolutely looked down on the 3 of them, and they suddenly became furious. The 3 great god emperors took action directly. Anyway, I'm not speculating. Well done. The 3 god emperors used their brainwave power to directly suppress Jia Yan with powerful force. But Jia Yan actually had no fear. Instead of retreating, he advanced towards the place where the 3 great god emperors were, and suddenly stepped forward. His power has increased greatly, and now he doesn't know what extent his strength has reached. I just know that compared with the 3 powerful god emperor level creatures in front of me, my own strength has a certain chance of winning. Although I am definitely still a little behind against the god emperor level beings, I don't think there will be too many problems in escaping. This is also the reason why Jia Yan is so bold and stays here to fight the three God Emperors. How dare you come directly to greet me? Haha, what a fool. We don't need the power we prepared to restrict the subspace. We can just kill him directly. I didn't expect the evolved beast to be such a stupid creature. We thought too much, and this guy is nothing to be afraid of. The three God Emperors did not escape from Jia Yan, nor did they retreat into the subspace to fight with them. They felt that Jia Yan must be crazy in the head. After all, his previous battles had also been studied by the three God Emperors. It was believed that Jia Yan's strength might be possible against one of them, but against the three God Emperors, I guess I can't even escape. But now he didn't even have the option to escape, but launched a frontal counterattack against the three of them. This is not stupidity. What is stupidity? The three God Emperors obviously underestimated the speed at which the evolved beasts could increase in strength in a short period of time, especially the existence of evolved beasts like Jia Yan that had reached the star level. They completely underestimated, or rather, their three major evolutions. Beast, directly missed the previous information of evolved beasts like Jia Yan. After each evolutionary beast reaches the star level, it is no longer an ordinary existence and can be speculated on. Some of them will even be promoted to a new level within a day or two. Of course, that was only done by one of the seniors of the evolved beasts, the extremely powerful senior Tianji in the Orion arm. And the situation is very similar to the unique situation Jia Yan encountered, so it is difficult to replicate. Of course, Jia Yan's progress in strength cannot be compared with the progress of senior Tianji back then, but he went to a different world and came back with an improved system of his own, which is even more shocking in comparison. It can be said that the juniors completely surpassed the seniors. Even senior Tianji, when he was at Jia Yan's level, did not dare to face the three top divine emperors. And Jia Yan not only dared to confront him, but at this moment, he actually fought directly face to face. Boom! The three divine emperors faced off against Jia Yan, and then their brainwave power, without risking their lives, bombarded Jia Yan's body. Jia Yan's body shook wildly. But at this moment, the blue defense in his body flew out directly. In an instant, the brainwave power shook wildly, and Jia Yan's blue defense was quickly spread on the surface of his body. But at this moment, Jia Yan's strength was enough to withstand the first wave of attacks. It's disrespectful to come back and not reciprocate. Just look at my yin-yang Dao power. Jia Yan chose to confront the three God Emperors head-on, not because he wanted to show off his power, but because at this moment, he wanted to try out the extent of his newly promoted Yin and Yang Dao power. And under this attack, he first tested that his blue defense was at least good. At least it did not break under the attacks of the three top God Emperors. After the three divine emperors faced Jia Yan's azure defense, they were all shocked when they discovered that their attacks did not break through this obvious defense layer at all. What? How is that possible? What kind of defense is he? The attacks of our three great God Emperors can't kill this defense. This, couldn't we seriously injure him with one blow and then kill him? Why is this happening? The three great God Emperors defended against Jia Yan's azure blue, is simply incomprehensible. This azure defense was a completely new defense method for the three God Emperors. Of course, more importantly, the three of them couldn't defeat it when they joined forces. This and the information they obtained are simply heaven and earth, right? This, his strength. It was at this moment that the three divine emperors completely felt that Jia Yan's strength was probably not the same creature as what was stated in the data. Just when they were shocked, Jia Yan's yin-yang Dao bombardment had already landed in front of the three divine emperors. He chose not to attack a god emperor, but to instantly cover the bodies of the three god emperors with his attack range. What? Attack the three of us together? It's really too arrogant to attack the three of us together. Do you think that you can resist the attacks of our three great god emperors, and even the attacks are stronger than us? It is really arrogant. When the three god emperors saw that Jia Yan was stretched to the limit, they felt the sweetness in their mouths and they were about to spurt out blood. As top-level god emperors, they think very highly of themselves. The three god emperors had seen Jia Yan fight so hard against three ordinary god emperors, and they already looked down on Jia Yan in their hearts, because any one of the three of them would perform better than Jia Yan when meeting the three ordinary god emperors. But now they saw that Jia Yan was treating them even less seriously than he was dealing with the three ordinary god emperors. Their eyes suddenly burst into flames, thinking that Jia Yan was too capable of looking down on them. But next, they will verify that Jia Yan is not looking down on them, but his strength. There have been earth-shaking changes. Changes beyond their imagination.